Good morning and welcome to the Morning Connection. We're coming to you live from the beautiful Ligony Club in New Kingston, Jamaica. Good morning to those who have joined us on air and online. We welcome you, welcome you, welcome you. And good morning to those back in the studio and right here on site, our engineer producer on the job as always. And Pastor Percival, good morning.
Good morning, my sister. How are you today?
I'm very well.
I am okay. It was a very hectic day yesterday, but good morning to Jamaica. Good morning to all of our listeners that are spread across the length and breadth of Jamaica. Good morning to those who are in Mountain View, those who are in St. Catherine, those who are in Manchester, Hanover, Trelawney, all over this wonderful country of ours. We salute you and we thank you for visiting with us this morning. And those who are online, guess what, my sister? You look wonderful this morning. You look very African.
Yes.
Yes, look very African, you know.
Apparently yesterday. Oh, you didn't see me yesterday.
No, I didn't.
Yes, I haven't seen you for a day. What you been up to?
Ah, my dear, CXCs and all of what it takes to do CXC. I just also want to acknowledge, I went to the NHD yesterday to conduct some business, and I just want to say hello to the staff at the NHD, that's the St. Catherine office, but also to say hello to those persons who are at the tax office. It was a good experience yesterday, and I was able to connect with somebody from my childhood. She said, "Is that your mother?" Because I didn't tell you that I lost my wallet, and somebody recovered my wallet, and somebody used my identity to conduct some business. I didn't tell you about that drama that happened. So
Many years ago?
about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm going, oh, wow. But I just want to celebrate.
You mean you were just completing?
No, I completed a
The
long time ago
oh,
because
oh.
what happened in terms of transacting business with NHD, they need for you to have the original. Even though on your driver's license, you have your TRN number, they say we want something from them. So I went over to the tax office, and it was good to connect and saw some wonderful young people working and being very courteous. So all is not lost. And one lady, I was trying to get her to smile yesterday, and she said, "Get too much trouble." Can you imagine? In 5 minutes, she discovered that I'm a troublemaker. I am not a troublemaker. Am I a troublemaker? Am I a troublemaker? You need to, I'll ask you, because you interact with me every day. I want an answer. Do you think I'm a troublemaker?
It is
I'm a person, Person can't be troublemaker.
person specialize in trouble.
Specialize in trouble.
Of course.
Why? Because we get up and speak the oracles of God.
There you go.
I said to the man, you better watch yourself.
Repent.
Repent for the kingdom of God.
You're lucky they let you in.
That they never stone me or lock me up.
Absolutely.
And lock me up like Jeremiah.
There you go.
But
see now, you understand what the lady
they
was
didn't say
saying.
any trouble. But eventually she smiled. She smiled and said, don't that make you feel nice?
She decided the best way to get rid of you was to cooperate.
Okay, but she smiled though.
Yes, that
All
was
right.
the best way to get rid of you. I'm glad you had a fun day yesterday.
No, it was a long day. And then I went down. I'll tell you what happened yesterday
Yeah.
too.
All right,
Yeah.
you can tell me some of it at the break, because the producer is about to have a heart attack. It is 6:30. Let's take our first break of the morning, and then when we come back, we'll give you an idea of what we're going to be doing for you today.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
Welcome to the Ligony Club. This beautiful property is nestled in the heart of New Kingston and is the single largest sporting facility in the English-speaking Caribbean. JD's Urban Pub is our resident restaurant. You can trust them with all your catering requirements. Take advantage of our excellent amenities and allow yourself to be pampered by our courteous and efficient staff in the comfort of our well-appointed and welcoming public spaces. You are being invited to make this your home away from home. Take advantage of our full-service gymnasium. Our 8 tennis courts. Feel free to wander through the gardens and enjoy the relaxing atmosphere of this oasis that remains as charming today as when we first opened our doors in 1910, and our large-size swimming pool. 6 squash courts. In the evenings, relax with us in the lobby bar and lounge. Call or visit us today. We're excited to meet you. Good morning and welcome back. So let's take a quick journey through what we're going to be doing today. On Free Flowing Thursdays, as you all know.
Thought you were going to finish sharing my stories about yesterday. That was very interesting.
Yes, we're going to come back to your stories. Yes, on Free Flowing Thursday, this is what we do. We enter into discussions on matters that are of public and clearly now personal interest. We will first take a full report on Percival's day off yesterday, the adventures of Percival. And then, of course, you know, at 8:30, we are having a surprise guest from JPS, a special treat. You will see. You'll really enjoy this. I'm looking forward to it.
So we're getting the CEO to come?
That would be a special treat for you?
Yeah.
I think if you think hard, you can think of better treats.
No, man. You
from
want the CEO to
JPS.
come.
All right, so Percy wants the CEO to come. Let's see if we can make that dream come true. After all, it is the season for granting wishes.
Right.
If you were listening on your way in, did you hear some Christmas music?
Mm-mm.
Lloyd was a genius. I suddenly
Lord is a
remembered,
genius.
y-
He's a
yes,
genius in terms of music selection. We have to big up our engineer Lloyd. No, man.
well, I sent him a last minute note. Christmas music, you know me love Christmas music.
You know, say I
And
love
and
Christmas.
yes, he was playing some tunes for us. So because it's the season, yes, Percy, we'll see if we can make your wish come true. But we will have our JPS guest speaking to us on something that is of great importance. Because it's a surprise guest, I don't want to say much more, but you will be edified. Also, we had promised our listener, Keon Brown, or Keon, I think, we gotta get the pronunciation right, that we would spend some time speaking on an issue which is near and dear to his heart. Not oddly enough, but in true form. It is an issue that we care very much about here at the Morning Connection too, because it is about self-determination and freedom. He has a great concern for the condition of the people in West Papua New Guinea. And I said, yes, we're going to talk about that. So we're going to spend a little time talking about that. But I'm going to discuss it in the context of what it means for Jamaica to reignite its activism in the area of international cooperation, standing in solidarity with people who are suffering various forms of oppression across the world. You know, in our business, this meaning Pastor Percy and my business, if you can be a blessing to someone, then it is in giving that you receive.
That's
We
so
will be
true.
blessed.
That's so
So
true.
Jamaica is struggling with some issues that touch on concern
Land.
personal freedoms,
And land.
distribution of land, fundamental.
Land, land, land.
Anytime you say people, you have also said land. Do you know, people and land is like land and house? Land and house in a legal context are one. If a
Okay.
house is built on land, permanently built on the land, it becomes a part of the land. And the whole thing is sold as land.
Okay.
So it is
So you give the
people
house
and
and land.
land.
Well, you know, they say,
House and land.
we have this expression in Jamaica about house and land.
House
They
and
want
land.
house and land. That means they
That's a
want everything.
complete gift.
They want everything from you.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
asking for house and land. You and somebody
Yeah.
in disagreement, or them going like they want house and land, which is everything.
Right.
So even in the
Expressions or cultural
expression,
expressions,
yes.
we recognize the completeness of that gift. So it is with people and land. You can't have people without land.
Yeah, that's true. And we said that, and we
And
agree.
land without people is desolate.
Right, which is what happened to when judgment is meted
Executed.
upon you,
Yeah.
as we've seen as we follow the journeys of the children of Israel. God said, I'm going to move you out of this land. And part of what he does is when he is returning you and restoring you, he will restore you to the land.
To the land, absolutely. And when he's restoring the land, his first promise to the land is, I will put people on you again. Feet will run across your plains and valleys. So people and land, house and land, it's all the same. So we're going to talk a little bit about how Jamaica can reignite its passion for the fight for freedom, and just see what can we educate our people concerning, how can we educate our people concerning the plight of other disenfranchised or oppressed people in the rest of the world. And as you remarked on it, as we've been looking at West Papua New Guinea, we see that the people look like us.
They look like us, they would
Them
never
have a
say.
color. They came from the land like us. Well, all humanity.
No,
So we'll
it's
talk a little bit
interesting,
about
yeah,
that.
it's interesting. There are people of color. And the only thing when you look at having interacted with persons from Papua New Guinea in my travels,
Yes.
I say, they look like me. So,
All right. There you go.
so if
We are one.
they look like us.
They
so
look like us.
They look
and,
like
and
us.
who knows? Maybe that is why they remain under the boot heel of other people. But as you were saying too, the Indonesians are
But
not
not far
really
removed,
different from
not
us
far removed
either.
from us. They're dark-skinned people, so
Yeah,
yeah, people
right.
of color.
So
So
we talk about freedom on the international stage. Courtesy of the same Mr. Brown, a scripture has been handed to you, Percy, for us to discuss. I'm always happy to discuss scripture for the edification of a brother or sister, and even just to refresh my own understanding of things. And I had a revelation last night. Every time you are invited to meditate on a scripture, it is because God has something in it for you. It's prophetic. Whenever you are drawn to a particular scripture, whether somebody offer it to you or you yourself fall into it, there's something in there for you. You gotta eat it, consume it, internalize it, and see, what it will unlock for you. Good morning, Wayne. Wayne says the sunshine it shine bright, and that is true. You ought to see it. At one point, the producer was trying to be shade for us,
yeah, man, standing up
to block
there.
some of the light. But you know what? God has been merciful. It's not so, yeah, it's not so intense now. Yeah, you can actually see us. All right, Percy, what was that scripture? Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 3 to 5.
Before we go to that scripture,
Yeah.
I found this so
Oh,
interesting.
you had your own.
I wanted to share because I've been listening, I've been watching the happenings, I've been watching this whole thing about land. It now become a cascas again in the public.
The HAJ.
Yes,
Yes.
HAJ, Operation Pride,
Oh, you weren't with us yesterday.
Operation Pride, and Mr. Buchanan, who was one of the players in that, wrote a fulsome report on it in terms of saying, let us don't get this thing mixed up. What it did for a lot of people was to give them land, give them land and set
Yeah.
up people. And he even pointed out one of the things that I didn't even know, that the Minister of Constitutional Reform, Malahu Ford, used to be the chairperson of one of the Providence Societies, Karachi of Pines, up in Mona.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And yes, and then he reminded us that another person is on the side now. Amos was one of the persons who benefited. So it says, top to bottom, everybody through
Everybody.
Operation Pride
Right.
benefited in terms of, he quoted this rate of 58,000 titles were issued to people. He acknowledges that there were some things that went wrong with it, but so it was.
The genesis of it was well-meaning.
It was well-meaning, and people have benefited from it. But listen to this now.
Yes.
The end and culmination of all things is near. Therefore, be sound-minded and self-controlled for the purpose of prayer. Stay in balance and focus on the things of God, which of course concern the land, so that your communication will be clear, reasonable, specific, and pleasing to Him. The end of all things is at hand. Some of the things that we have dealt with, have suffered with, it's coming to an end.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming to an end. But He's reminding us, just make sure that you're balanced. You're focusing on the things that are at the very heart of God. So when you speak, people understand. But it says, above all, have fervent and unfailing love for one another. We always speak about love here. That international issue in terms of what has happened to our brethren over in West Papua Guinea. Unfailing love for one another. I've been pondering and thinking about this thing of love. How does love for my neighbor consume me, enable me? So I'm in a situation and I'm constantly thinking, here it is, Percy and Minute. If Percy was in Minute's shoes, what would Percy want for Minute to do? How would he want to respond to it? And I always have to keep that in sharp focus, my
Yeah.
African sister.
Yeah. First thing you would say, Minute, these shoes are tight. How are you managing in these shoes? It is free-flowing Thursday.
You know, remind me. Remind me.
You would have said, Minute, how How you walking in
No,
shoes, my
man.
sister?
No,
Come.
man. Because love covers a multitude of sin. Oh, my Lord. You know, once I tried to walk in a spike heel shoes and I
See?
tumbled down.
There you go. Woman shoes hard for
Remember,
wear.
and I wonder how they do it at all times.
See?
It just bring back memories
Right,
of
yeah.
when we were on campus. Because our block was all male. And we had to do this drama, but there's a female in it. I said, I'll play the role of the female and put on the
Makeup
nightie and the
and-
makeup and thing and the spike heel shoes.
It was a bedroom scene, you're
No,
saying?
no. The mother was beating the son.
Pastor, your stories, I tell you, you had to be an anointed man. Your stories would get you in prison.
I just talk about the shoes tight and a blind me. Remember the time. I said to myself, Father, oh Lord forgive us. But you know, I
Said,
just
women are amazing.
oh, I know that every day. And today I just celebrate my mother, blessed mother, Hazel, Emily Smith. I really love my mother, you know. I'm just thinking about all of the things.
Mothers
But-
are irresistible.
Oh my Lord.
Even some of the not so good ones.
Yes, I
You
was talking.
cannot help yourself.
I was talking to my brother. We have different mothers, and them said, "Boy, only help me, pray for me, cause we're not too well." They said, "My prayers are with you," and I'm just so grateful for my mom
Yeah.
in terms of she just growing old gracefully. That's up to you.
Accepting maturity.
30 and
Yes.
thing, you know. But
You know, when you were reading the scripture and you're saying the end of all things is near, what came to my mind is that
hallelujah.
each of us, we are only a breath away from the end of all things.
Can you imagine that? Yeah, we're only a breath away from
yeah,
all things.
From the end of all things.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and for a dying person,
Yes.
or, you know, for a person, when I say dying, not referring to terminal illness now, but for persons who have approached that age where you could say death is a certainty anytime now, it is the clearest existential crisis.
Got everybody.
We like to think of existential crises as those events and challenges that humanity faces as a whole. But really, of a fact, you know, when I die, I don't care that other people are alive.
Don't mean anything.
My being gone, I'm gone. I have no influence, so for all intents and purposes, the world has ended. It's like when babies who don't as yet know that you're going to come back, when they see you leave the room, they cry as if the world has ended. In their mind,
Yeah.
the world has ended. You have disappeared. They don't know that you're gone next door and you will come back. And really, the only way they get to know that is over time when they see you keep coming back.
Oh,
It's
wow.
not because they understand that the world is bigger than the room in which they sleep.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? And so it is for us living here in Jamaica. Many of us live and behave as if the world is confined to the space that we occupy.
It's
So we
bigger than
give
that.
no thought to what's happening in the neighbor's house. We give no thought to what's happening in the community next door. We have no concept of what is happening in Kingston if you live in Mobe.
True.
And sometimes too, it crazily becomes there is no time other than this moment.
For you. And you know, that is such an important principle you have raised, because I see a lot of persons behaving like now is the only time.
This is the only time.
This is the only time.
There's no tomorrow.
And therefore their behavior reflects that
Yeah.
in terms of the selfishness,
Selfishness.
in terms of
Yes,
the
yes.
selfishness that comes. I'm seeing some people and I'm saying, hold on. Them forget say, I not just know them I live. I see it in terms of the taxi men, in terms of how they drive. Oh, they have a different law. It's a different road code that they have.
Yep.
And even some of us, in terms of how we drive, some of the times I just have to hold and I just have to pray and I say, hallelujah. Like yesterday, I was driving and this guy comes Whoosh. You know what I'm saying? If that person never eased up, he would have run straight in the median. And all of those persons in that taxi that he was driving.
Yeah, would be filling out police reports today if they
Yes.
survive.
And I'm saying,
Yeah.
what is that? Why is that necessary? So I make an appeal to all of our public transport operators. I know you have to give the boss man the money for the day, and then you have to do your hustling on top of that.
So you don't think he's the boss man?
No, man. Because a lot of people are driving, I've recognized, are driving for somebody who had the means to purchase the taxi
vehicle
already. Yeah.
and put them in
And
it.
then you said
Yeah.
you need to give me $8,000 there, whatever it is. And then for the person, the driver, then you have to do the hustling in terms of making his money and money to run the car. So, but that point that you have made,
You remember it?
that you don't live for yourself only in the moment. This moment is not the only moment. There are other moments. And
So we have a challenge, Percy, as persons who teach and who advocate kingdom principles. We have to be teaching persons to live and enjoy each moment as though it were your last, but live it in accordance with certain principles
True.
that will guarantee
that you have many more moments.
that you have many more moments.
That you have many more moments.
Yes.
That's what it comes
Yes.
down to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what we have today in terms of even this nation with all of the things that are was built on the sacrifice of persons who said it's not only today, were willing to make the sacrifice because they were thinking about the future.
Yeah, right. And they were claiming
Then
the
the
future
future,
as an extension of their own life, relevance, and existence.
Yes.
So this now is where you shift from thinking that the world ends with you
Oh my
to
Lord,
a
sister.
recognition
Yes.
that the world of the future is your gift to your children.
It's your legacy
gift
that you're
to the
leaving.
descendants.
It's your
descendants.
legacy that
Yes.
you are leaving.
So it is it's like balancing on a knife's edge, but it's quite doable. That knife edge is very broad. It can take the pressure. It's why I'm joining our listener in the call for us to give a thought and some support to the fight for freedom in other places. And Jamaica has distinguished herself as a
Apartheid.
warrior in the forefront of that struggle with, as you said, South Africa. And look at the blessings we reap from South Africa and continue to reap. And there's more to come because South Africa herself is on a path of repentance. And that Ezekiel prophecy about the diaspora, the importance of the diaspora. South Africa can uniquely claim two significant diasporas because South Africa has the children of the Dutch
And the children of the
and the children of the black Africans who we have been dispersed all over the world. When they are brought back, South Africa is very interesting to me because
It's a wonderful
see
place
such
to
a
be
strong flavor
of everything.
the colonial relationship became a love relationship. It's just interesting that the Africans are so closely bonded to their adoptive home, their stolen home. Be that as it may, different conversation. But we stood with South Africa at a time when others didn't have the courage. We stood with Cuba at a time when the rest of the world were running away from being associated with Cuba. Venezuela has been a friend and a blessing to us. We're not doing so good right now, but I believe there is room and time for repentance. Haiti, and that's just to name a few that came readily to mind. Jamaica's activism on the international scale has declined steadily over the years. But you know what I noticed, Percy? It declined in tandem or coincidentally with the decline in our economic fortunes. And when I look at it, I think, is this cause and effect? And in what direction does the arrow point? Because I think if we are a greater blessing to others, we ourselves would be blessed.
Okay. And that's so important. That's so important. But you know, at this point about delayed gratification, because you are seeing a future and you have a vision for what it is. So I'm giving up something now.
Or just sacrificial
Yes,
denial.
yeah, sacrificial.
You personally will never experience it.
Yeah.
You're fighting for the next man to get it.
But here is that, and that is found in Hebrews. When it speak about the fathers of the faith, they never saw the promise, but they continued to live and to do because they knew at some point in time it would become a reality for them. And therefore, we now are reaping the benefits of
their
the
faithfulness, their righteous striving,
laying down their lives.
Yes.
Oh my word.
I touched a nerve.
Yes, like you touched on honor.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I never leave honor.
Yeah, honor
Still
is
speaking.
Oh,
all right, so before we go into the nitty-gritty of West Papua New Guinea, I would like you to tell us about your day off.
It's not
Producer say you have 2 minutes.
No, but it was.
At least
I told you
start.
what happened. So
Yes.
CXC, then paying my son's field. That's out of the way. And
Bless
then,
God.
Yes, hallelujah. And then the lady says, I found it interesting. She said, if there's anybody you are struggling as a parent, just come talk to us as a guidance counselor. And I really do applaud the guidance counseling department for the human work they do to ensure that there's no child who don't do their exam because they know the alma mater and people who are willing to do that. And they do it, I don't even know that is happening.
Okay.
So I really do celebrate the guidance counseling departments in all of the schools who do wonderful work.
And all schools have that resource now available.
Yeah, so they said, find some way. Child have potential, no, don't stop it.
So you're really telling parents, if you're struggling, whether you've been invited to come in and discuss it
Go
or not,
talk to your guy
push the door.
And go, no.
So we did the declarations yesterday, you know, and as I say push the door, that's what came back to mind, that people will have that boldness
Yes.
to knock, push a door, insist on getting the resource, the help that you need for your child. There are many things that you might be too proud to do for yourself.
But do it for your child.
am like that. But if my child is at risk or somebody else is at risk, I will develop the boldness.
Yeah. And then my day ended with me going out to Boys Town, the child resiliency program that's been going on from starting in 2006, but has morphed into an after-school program where they are working with the 9 to 11-year-olds in school who are at risk. And what they do is that they do life skills, they use sport, they use culture, and they feed the children. So I was so interested in talking to them yesterday.
So this is a program that's only available in Boys Town, or it's like a national program?
Well, we want it to be national, but you need the funding to do it. So I'll tell a bit more about that. But it's been wonderful.
Because you know I'm a country girl,
Yeah, man.
and I advocate always for these excellent programs that
So break. I come
country
back and
girls don't watch time.
Yeah.
All right, it's our break.
Yeah, so
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
Welcome back. We were in the middle of taking Percy's report on his day off. Please, if I should take a day off, do not hold me to the same standard of reporting. I will neither be as thorough or as entertaining. Where you reaching the report? Oh, you went to Boys Town.
Yeah, and we played Chinese telephone with the children. Talking about communication.
Please don't call it Chinese telephone.
That's what we call it.
I should have cautioned you while we were off air. Whatever name we want to describe the fact that a message which starts at one end
that's how we know it.
results in garbled, unintelligible sounds at the other end. I do not think the Chinese would take kindly to that mischaracterization of their
what do you know it as?
Communication
What do you know it as? Telephone?
Well, in those days, I did not have the right level of political correctness.
No.
What did we call it? I don't think we knew about no Chinese nothing when we were in
telephone. Where
you
start at one end and you have a line of people, and at the end
you whisper something to one, and they are to repeat what they hear.
And by the end of it,
the next, and by the end of it, there's no relationship between
to what was said first.
The opening statement and the closing.
And they found it so funny, but
it is a hilarious game.
Yeah, but what happened?
But do not inflict that on the Chinese, please.
All right,
have
telephone.
Some Chinese friends.
Me too.
Telephone. Don't let the Broadcasting Commission investigate us.
I've been politically correct.
For being discriminatory and maybe even abusive. Listen, let me not elevate it to anything. I was just teasing you. I have a way of saying things and they become talking points elsewhere.
But it's kind of interesting because I was listening to, there's a big furor over the World Cup and the migrant workers, and also the whole thing in terms of LGBTQ rights. So you come have it right?
With the World Cup?
Yes,
Eh,
the
I've
people are
missed that, Percy. What part of the swimming pool you hang out in?
all over. I go to I swim in different areas all over. No, but it's because I listen to BBC,
Yes.
where this guy was a former national footballer for
Yes.
Iran. They were doing a documentary, and he says this thing of homosexuality in our country, Qatar, it's against the law. It's haram, and it has created a furor because the FIFA says, let this World Cup be about the sport only. Let it not become a thing in terms of the LGBTQ rights, because they were in this, the rainbow color armband too with them, and they say no, guys, let's not do that. Let's not do that, and then the thing in terms of the migrant workers and how they are treated, that has become another major issue in regards to this, because this guy who said it's haram, which is not, it is according to Muslim law, we don't accept that at all. They said, but he's an ambassador for the World Cup. Home can say that. And somebody was trying to stop him to say, no, better go there, sir. But him continued to go there because that was his own personal belief. And so as he talked about being politically correct, it just came back to mind as I just overheard that yesterday on the BBC. Yeah, but it's kind of interesting what's happening internationally in terms of those rights and where it has gone to. So let it be. But back to yesterday with my children, I found it so good just to be with them and to interact with them and to hear their voices in terms
Oh, yes,
of,
and you were starting to tell me that there is a desire to make the program a national program.
right. And the
funding
Ministry of
permitting.
Education had looked at it. They had started discussion because it's been led through an NGO, which is a part of the Violence Prevention Alliance in Jamaica, the Child Resiliency Program. And they'd done something in Falmouth, in St. James, and so on. But with COVID, they had to pull back. Because at one point in time, they were doing like 540 families because those were the children who were involved. Because they do a cohort of about 60 students who are pulled from the school based on an instrument they use to identify them, which is focused on the achievement at their level in school, focus on have they experienced violence, abuse, that kind of a thing. And then what has happened, because they are very strong in terms of monitoring and evaluation, those input in terms of building protective factors have helped those children to move on and to come back to understand that they can become resilient.
How old is the program?
It started in 2006.
Okay.
In 2014, it became national in the sense, and it's there. So,
Okay. So
yeah.
it's in high school now.
A lot of the children are in high school. Them in a high school, right? That's correct. Yeah, they're in high school now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you
it's
would
talking
begin
to the
see-
children to find
yeah.
out where they are now
Yeah.
and just evaluating just the impact of COVID. And they have pivoted well, because a lot of the similar program was shut down in COVID. They continued, and all kudos to Dr. Scott, who just pushed the envelope and they said, no, the children need the help. So if we got to do what we have to do, let's do it. So
That's love in action.
yeah, man, real love. Kudos to Dr. Fisher and Dr.
So how did that was the last
That's it.
adventure
And
of
then-
the day?
Yeah, that was the last.
Or
adventure.
did it continue into the kitchen of the Palmer household? You cooked?
No, I didn't cook yesterday. My wife cooked yesterday.
What's it about? That's a big thing.
Yeah, it was
When you
long because
get-
I reached home about 8 o'clock last
When
night.
you get a meal cooked by Mrs. Palmer,
No.
that's a treat. You're usually the chef.
Between both of us, but normally because she's there. So,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
but again, big up to Mish, my Shelly Belly.
Oh dear. Yeah, okay, thank you for the report, Pastor Palmer. What did we do? You have to listen to the program to know what we did.
Yeah, but I was
can
listening
tell
initially.
you what continued after I left the show, I received a call from one of our faithful listeners
To say,
to say that an issue we dealt with had been picked up by another station, a station that I don't know if they talk about us as much as our callers talk about them. But suffice it to say, a well-known station. One of the callers, Fortis, and I had a chat about Warmington and his outrageous racial slurs against Mark Golding.
Yeah, and that
And
happened.
I was querying the presence of the ombudsman in the fray.
Yes.
Because I said the political ombudsman
That's
ought
what
to
she
have
does.
been, on top of it. And you know, so this morning there is a headline. She has in fact opened an investigation. She says that she sent out a letter, the office sent out a letter on Tuesday. Now, I do not doubt whatever is said about the letter going out, an investigation. What we are aiming to see in this country is when persons who have a duty to address certain things, they address it promptly and let it be known that they are on it. If we are seriously going to rebuild trust in our institutions,
which is the deeper issue here.
That's the issue. You must say early enough, because the public is looking on and it takes its guide sometimes from how these institutions handle things. We have a political ombudsman. The office has been known to run with great alacrity on some issues, and on others it seems to be slower off the mark. I remember, I think said Mark Golding was asked to either apologize or pay a fine or something about some comment he made. Did he refer to someone as a boy? Yes, he referred to someone as a boy, I think. Anyway, without going into the history of it, on both sides of the divide,
must be balanced.
You've got to be balanced. But when you know that public confidence in certain institutions is at an all-time low, you move quickly and you say what you're doing so people can know you're alive. So I don't appreciate only hearing on Thursday that the ombudsman opened an investigation. The first thing is, the ombudsman, the office ought to have a representative at all these political things. You don't want to wait until the news media choose to carry something or not. Things are said in the presence of hearing and hearing of those who are there. And you're guarding the public conscience and the public's sensibilities. So you should have a way of capturing the information from, whether it is that they have to record it and send it to you within such and such a period of time. I don't know, I'm speaking. If I had the office, I know that I would put arrangements in place to know what everybody is saying. Maybe after a while I could tone it down, because once they realize that you are listening and acting on the outrageous, improper statements, people will start to take note. Of course, there's the other thing which we raised with the Integrity Commission. There must be consequences.
Yeah.
When people misbehave, they must feel it in a place that hurts.
Them pocket.
Not no tap on the wrist and all of that. Since it's a lot of men, you know where it hurts. They must feel it.
And I'm in agreement with that,
So,
in terms of the whole the transparency of the process.
Yeah.
People, perception is 90% of the reality.
Of the reality. Yeah.
And
Percy, look what Mr.
Warmington.
Warmington has said in relation to the protest.
Yeah.
Hey, listen now. I mean, he's funny too, you know.
So Warmington.
Warmington,
He's
who
being
remains undefeated in his St. Catharines Southwestern constituency since he first won in 2002, has dismissed the PSOJ and the Office of the Political Ombudsman as sanctimonious non-entities. Yes. The man said it too. The PSOJ. All right, I'm sure persons are hearing it. Would you like a microphone, Mr. Producer?
You mean that he has dementia? Him have a short memory? Yeah, but I don't know. But let me just say something.
They're sanctimonious
I
non-entities.
have known this gentleman.
He's a gentleman?
No, me just leave me alone, no, man. No, this gentleman. Because I refer to all of them as gentlemen over the years. And he says what everybody else is saying, but he only have the courage to say it.
So he has Tourette syndrome.
We don't business with that.
Yeah. So, no, but I'm not in agreement with what I'm saying, but what I just simply saying,
You're saying he has a talent for saying what others are thinking, but don't have the cojones to
don't have
say.
the balls to say it. Because I'm
I'm
sure,
not sure you can say that on radio,
That
on
balls?
morning radio.
Does that make it right?
Is it because there's pickleball going across the court?
no, I'm not saying it is right, you know. We outright condemn it. I am saying, this is my reading of the situation. Him saying what a lot of people think, but then have the courage to say it.
Or they don't,
People have
or
the
the,
decency not to say
or the,
publicly.
yeah.
That is what happened.
So all right. So obviously we need to give a microphone to
I will get a mic.
the producer because he's becoming a Warmington on the sidelines.
No, you
So,
see the...
but here's the source of his pushback or his grousing. He questioned whether there was similar pushback against PNP politicians, citing inflammatory comments such as PNP's Damian Crawford's remark about dirty labor rights.
He was censored
and
for that.
PNP General Secretary Dayton Campbell's race-baiting utterance about JLP Chairman Robert Montague being leader of the black section of the Labour Party. I don't know who they are. I don't owe them nothing. I've never seen them in Southwest St. Catherine yet. So please, don't ask me about a bunch of irrelevant non-entities. He said in a Gleaner interview
You see what he
Wednesday,
said? I don't give
a rat's rear end. I didn't even know you could put that in the paper.
what the other man wants to do, he delete.
What you usually say, Dickens?
Yeah, I don't say Dickens. Dickens said totally different thing.
I don't give a rat's Dickens.
No.
What the ombudsman wants to do, he declared. However, Parchment Brown said, citing Section 4 of the Political Code of Conduct, which says, politicians should not make statements that are malicious in reference to opposing candidates, their families, and party officials. The PSOJ appealed to political representatives to be more responsible in their public discourse, contending that these comments have no place in the Jamaican context now or in the past, as it is totally inconsistent with our motto, out of many one people. We cannot expect to positively address our social issues if our leaders display poor judgment in their tone and statements towards each other. Distasteful and divisive statements from either side of the political defense cannot be condoned or supported, the country's most powerful business lobby said in a statement on Wednesday.
What they need
which
to
for
do.
me, that statement was 2 days too late.
Well, what I'm saying, well, here's the thing now. Let's call out the hypocrisy of the whole situation.
Really? Because Warmington accused the PSOJ of hypocrisy. So, which are you with Warmington? You know, you sound like a warmie.
I'm warming up this morning. The hypocrisy
Yes, what's
of
the
situation.
hypocrisy of the situation?
You see, I always say to people, we know you can't run elections without money. If the PSOs feels very strongly about this and other issues,
They should withdraw their money
yes,
from the JLP
and the PNP too.
and the PNP.
Yeah,
Why
but
the
they feel
PNP?
No,
The
because
PNP is the one
balance.
that's
No,
being described.
I'm saying balance.
Remember, we said no partiality. We have to be impartial in our dispensation of
Right.
judgment.
Yeah.
So let the one who is guilty of the sin take the punishment. You don't punish both just because you're seeking to be impartial.
I'm just saying the stance should be,
Yes.
if you feel strong about any statement that is said,
Yes.
let it be known to both of them. If you
Yeah.
do this, we're going to pull the plug on you.
Yeah, but when you're pulling the plug, you don't pull it on both. 'Cause
No.
One did not sin.
Listen to what I'm saying.
All right,
The stance-
I'm just terrorizing. I understand what you're saying.
So I'm saying, let the policy be, guys. This is what it is now. We're holding you responsible for all utterances, whether it comes from the top, the bottom.
So you'd
or-
be asking them for a refund of the money. Give me back the money I gave you.
Yeah, all that-
Because depending on when it happens,
You know?
it might not be a practical resolution.
Yeah.
Still, this is what, remember, there was the boy comment.
Yes. And everybody came with a data.
Yeah, No, let me see.
Dayton Campbell, yeah,
All
man.
right, no man, hold on. The little thing where you call PSOJ,
It really
did
wasn't.
they condemn Mark Golding when him called the chairman of the party, Bobby Montague, the little black boy? Did they? No,
Yes,
they
did.
didn't, Warmington said. Golding was found guilty by the ombudsman of unbecoming political behavior last year for that comment. He was ordered to publicly apologize and pay a maximum of $20,000 to a charity in Montague's constituency. Golding did not apologize. Campbell, who has also been criticized for using race in political banter, told the Gleaner Wednesday that Warmington's comments are a coordinated strategy to distract
That's where I'm
from
going.
relevant issues.
That's where I was going.
I think they're trying to lower the discussions to distract from the many failures of the country because they want to get into a tracing match. We're not buying that at all, said Campbell. We're keeping the primary issues topical. What is going on in the country, the crime situations, the significant breaches that are taking place in the health ministry, and the education crisis with over 1,000 teachers not being paid, he said. Campbell said that intellectual leadership and leadership capacity, not race, was a factor considered by the electorate. It is a sentiment shared by Dr. Imani Tafari Arma, research fellow, blah, blah, blah. Tafari Arma described Warmington's comments as divisive, provocative, and shallow. Its skin color should not matter, because if we say out of many, listen to me. The Constitution speaks against discrimination based on race. We do not say anywhere that a person is disqualified from any leadership position or job or anything based on race, based on color, based on gender, based on the existence or non-existence of any ability or disability. Those things are clear, they're fundamental.
Let me read this for you.
And one of the things that is kind of disturbing when you read this commentary is that people seem to think, let's focus on the big issues. And let's focus on the big issues, what they're calling the big issues, and not be distracted by the shallow, by like a Warmington. But Warmington's outpouring, as you characterized it as, you've characterized him as a man who says what others are thinking but don't have the courage to say, which is speaking to, this is the big issue for me. The big issue for me is that lack of care or concern for truth, for justice, for any of the fundamental things that are at the heart of our humanity and our freedoms, our fundamental rights and freedoms. That's the big thing. And it shows up in little ways. But when it shows up, do not mistake it for anything other than the tip of the iceberg that it represents. There need to be zero tolerance.
There is also
strike down
a
everything.
bigger issue at hand. There is the issue of accountability.
Mr. Producer.
Yes, thank you. There's also the issue of accountability. A man like this can say and do anything he pleases without any consequences. And that is the problem.
And that's a big issue.
That's a big
Because
issue.
everything we're talking
and then
about
you look to
touches
see
on that.
what the leader of the party is going to do about it or say about it.
Absolutely nothing. We've seen that already. That the moment for assessing that has passed. It will attract no censure, no comment from his party. That's already demonstrated.
But
he spoke on Sunday and we're at Thursday. We've not heard anybody from JLP side saying, we don't condone this. It is not the best expression of our beliefs. We will deal with the member. Even if you say we will deal with the member, but at least let the country know that that's not what you're about. But hear what happened. That is what they are about.
But we know that.
You know what too? Did you hear the PNP giving any outcry?
None of them. Because
Let me see, because no, I don't recall.
Okay, that's what they are about.
Because
Everybody needs to be re-educated.
no, a bigger issue for me is
What's your bigger issue, Pastor?
the major things that are concerning the fundamental rights and movement of the majority of the populace, which are the black people in this country, I'm even going to black and white, the people of this country, is being sidelined because they're having cascas over things that people have moved beyond.
But
And they seem to be distraction
But
because
that's
I've
not
been.
true, Percy. In reality, we are the ones who are talking about it. You hear anybody else talk about it?
Yeah.
Not a soul is being distracted by it. He said what he did, showed his utter contempt for both constitutional rights and just sheer human decency.
Right.
And he would have got away with it.
Yeah, because
Nobody was being distracted by it. They were not descending into any cascade. The party chairman, PNP party chairman, says he's not being distracted by it.
Are you suggesting that is a strategy?
You think it's a strategy?
Listen to me, Percy. That man behaved the same way every time. It's no
Yeah,
strategy.
no,
That
he
is-
behaves the
that
same.
is- that is a consistent behavior.
But it's
on
not
his
a
part.
strategy that is working.
Working.
It's not
What can-
working.
what-
You don't see anybody taking to the street to defend Mark's color.
Come on.
The truth of the matter is maybe there are some PNP people who feel the same way.
And you see?
Why is that? Why is him leading the party at this time? Why isn't it Paul Well? Why isn't it, who else is
Yeah,
dark
so the
skinned
big
and in
question,
contention?
is
So
when-
it's not distracting anybody.
The big
But it's
question-
still wrong.
The big question is, when are we going to start to hold these people accountable? We the people, because he was voted in by people, and they keep voting him in.
This is who, Mr. Warmington?
Yes.
Well, is he the garrison, what we call a garrison constituency?
There's a country.
So you think there are no garrisons in country? What do you mean country? Where is he?
It's in Olaba region, Olaba Bay, those places.
So you mean if there isn't
Although you have pockets there, but it is what has happened in
so
terms
garrison
that,
for you is only the ones that have the housing development.
no,
that are
but as you
populated
talk
by-
about housing development, that what has happened where his MP has shifted because you have Olaba. A lot of these new developments that people have,
the demographics
have changed because a lot of professionals and people live in those areas. You know. That used to be Olaba Bay.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, even if Mr. Warmington's sentiments, even if his sentiments represent the prevailing viewpoint of many Jamaicans, it's still wrong.
No, I'm not saying it is wrong.
Pass the break. Let's take a break.
Yes,
and
it's
we'll
time
come
for a
back.
break. Time for a
It's
break.
wrong. No, it's wrong, man.
All right, welcome back. We spent some time speaking about this issue with
Mr. Warburton.
MP Warmington and his outrageous utterances on the political platform. It's an interesting discussion because even as we are all in agreement that what he did was wrong, there are different perspectives on how it should be treated. One view is that it should be ignored as a distraction from the weightier matters of government performance. Um, Another perspective is that he may well have uttered what people secretly think and feel on both sides of the divide, mind you, both in the PNP and in the JLP. There may be that secret belief that a white man should not be at the helm of the government in a country where the majority of the people are black.
Even though he's 100% Jamaican.
Even though
Barnia.
he is 100% Jamaican, as
Barnia,
Percy is
sir.
saying.
Barnia.
He was born here. All of this within the context of a larger issue that is being played out in the national arena, and that is how we treat with fundamental human rights. If our Constitution says a thing and protects certain things, speak highly about some guaranteed rights, are we at liberty to condone flagrant violations, whether it's because who say it is an untouchable, or because we all secretly feel that way and we are resisting the push to be re-educated and transformed into a nation
of love and respect and honor.
Show love, respect, and honor. That's my summary of the discussion we've been having.
But you know,
And it's an interesting prelude to the other issue, which I am advocating now on behalf of Mr. Brown, namely that Jamaica should elevate her thinking, get back on a global platform fighting for these rights and freedoms, and look around the world to see where a certain type of oppression is being practiced against people, especially people who have been marginalized and who frankly look like us. And so West Papua New Guinea and the move to free these people. Do you know there are over 250 tribes, different tribes living in that area, the area that is known as West Papua. And these tribes all have their own language, their own unique culture, ways of expressing themselves. And in large measure, they are peaceful people wanting to exist on their own terms, not really trying to be a world power, yet they remain under the boot heel of the Indonesian government. Indonesia itself was colonized by the Dutch.
yep.
And it's one of those crazy situations of, kicking the dog. You were colonized by a foreign country.
And they turn back and kind of like
And
they haven't
you
learned.
turn and you gain administrative control over these tribes of free people, and you don't want to let them go. There are complaints about police abuse and the usual type of heavy-handed use of state power to control a bunch of people who are no threat to you. I expect that, as usual, the lure is to exploit the natural resources of the vast forest area which they occupy.
The countries. They
Yes.
are island states, right? West Papua New Guinea is island
right,
state. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So usually that's what it amounts to. In the same way, let us not forget, our own Prime Minister spoke some unfortunate words about the Maroons. The Maroons in Jamaica are recognized as an indigenous people. The Rastafarian community in Jamaica has been recognized as indigenous to Jamaica. And so, Percival, why are you laughing? And I'm being so serious. It is free-flowing Thursday, but you don't have to flow so freely. In the middle of my very serious comment.
I'm just looking at the paper and I'm dying with laughter because what you're talking about is a serious thing. But go ahead. Yeah.
No, what you saw in the paper.
Tufton in the news, in the news again, man.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna, because that is an irresistible lure as well.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that one of the reasons why it makes sense for us to join with others on issues that are familiar territory to us, and to help others fight for their freedom, is because when we join that fight, we have to be clean at home.
True.
And I suspect that is why Jamaica's activism
Has
has
decreased,
fallen,
has decreased.
has decreased. It's because we are so busy violating other people's rights at home that we cannot, with any
Pot
with clear
can't cause
conscience,
Pot cannot cause
he
keckle.
he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. You cannot approach the throne of grace when you have not repented.
If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones.
And that-
I would say that. I would say that.
I don't know, but I'm not giving you any more day offs because there was a time when if I said a thing like that, you would have responded with a scripture.
That's it. No, but I'm finding it.
You find the scripture?
Yeah, I'm finding
If you
it.
live in a glass house, don't throw stone.
Oh,
Is that in the parable of building on rock?
and sand and rock? No,
There's
but
glass involved? Well, if you say sand, there's glass.
Yeah, but no, but it's true.
Yeah.
What you're saying, because as you said that about the poor, the vulnerable, the homeless. Don't James it say in terms of good
Yes,
religion?
that is the religion that we are to practice.
And so therefore, as a people, we have to look at the issues and say, no, them poor, them vulnerable, them homeless, them widowless. Then we need to take up the cause because that is a practice of good religion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yes.
So if you think about it, let's go back a little bit in terms of what good religion is. When James was writing that, he was writing that in the context that the Christianity, which was a minor sect then, did some things that was against the natural order. Children thrown away, they opened orphans, they took them up.
Yes.
People who were vulnerable, they did that against the main grain of what was happening, and people lose sight of that, Christianity, even though people said people use it to support slavery, if you read it carefully, you'll see that
No, it had its foundation
Nation.
in strong humanitarian principles.
Yeah, because we saw
love,
each person
love,
the
just
image
love.
of God. Yes.
Yeah, it was about love.
Yeah, and so those
Yeah.
are our friends who are in West Papua New Guinea.
They deserve the love of humanity, near and far.
Yes, and we have to call it out and say, come on, Indonesia, don't do that to people who are related to you, because if you look at them and look at the Indonesian, hello, because
A family.
a family.
Family.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, as you said, what is driving it is the economic thing.
Yeah, man.
The mama.
Yeah, and the people of West Papua New Guinea, they're of a mindset of, we don't want no technology, we don't want no rapid development, we want to lead simple, peaceful lives where we connect with our land and we go on about our business. The way they lived undisturbed for centuries before the Dutch found them and Indonesia found them so attractive.
The Aboriginal people
but-
of Australia.
I also want our listeners to build their awareness on these issues from even a foundation of understanding how world forces have begun to move in a direction that smacks of righteousness.
Smacks of righteousness.
Yes, because the United Nations, of course you know that after the whole meltdown of the Second World War and the recognition that this business of destroying everything it's costly to rebuild, and it is better to intervene in disputes before they become occasions for armed conflict. So yeah, you can survive many Cold Wars. It's kind of like a marriage. I should leave this part of it to you, but just imagine where you realize that it costs the family a lot more if they are constantly fighting and breaking the furniture than if they know how to go into a quiet place and avoid each other for 2 or so days. The Cold War. Eventually you can find a way to raise your children, build resources, and then if at some point you choose to separate, you can do so with each person leaving with something in their hand.
True.
But if you're constantly drawing the knife and throwing things about, you both end up with nothing. So I'm likening the operation of the United Nations to that approach to maintaining relations in a shared environment, because it is better to do that and prosper than to be constantly at war in the hope that you will have everything. That is my
Winner take it all.
winner takes all, or the burnt ground approach to things. So the United Nations, from as far back as I think 1948, they agreed to the principle of self-determination as being one of the foundations for the successful coexistence of humanity. Because persons will go to war for the right to determine their own future. I mean, that is the whole bedrock for nationalist sentiment and patriotic moves. So Article 3 covers the right to freely determine the political condition and the pursuit of economic, social, and cultural development of indigenous peoples. And this business of recognizing indigenous peoples has everything to do with land. You being indigenous to an area is about territory. It means that you have such long-standing connection with a specific geographic territory that you have to be recognized by all comers as the owner of that territory. And if you are indigenous to a territory, you have the right to freely determine your political future, your economic conditions, and to preserve and protect your cultural expressions and way of life. It means that if you are sharing now that territory, for example, Jamaica shares the territory with the Maroons, with the Rastafarians, and you have a state, you have state apparatus within the territory, that state apparatus is obligated to ensure that the indigenous people are participating in decision making over the resources in the shared territory, that there is a recognition of the rights of these indigenous people by the state apparatus, that where you have sinned and committed atrocities, you have an arrangement in place for reparations for the violations of those rights, and most importantly, for reconciliation and a restoration of trust. And we see in South Africa where they have their Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which was regarded as unnecessary. There's a Durban Convention, which in Durban of South Africa, which seeks to elucidate on those points. Critical to the process too is the administration of land rights and the process for obtaining free, prior, informed consent from these indigenous people before you embark on things like cultural appropriation, exploitation of economic or even natural resources.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So in 1948, one of the conventions that came into being spoke about the right to
self-determination. And then over time, they have begun to add to how that how self-determination is to be attained. And I think it's about 2007 that they went deep now into recognizing some of the cultural aspects of it. Protection of your language,
Okay.
Your folklore, your sporting activities, like even some of the ring games that we came with out of Africa, lost because no one in the state apparatus in Jamaica, though it has Ministry of Culture and so on,
Don't
has
support
put
and
no
recognize
apparatus in
in terms
place
of recording it.
to record it. I remember
Folklore.
years ago, a friend of mine,
Lewin
Colin
did
Hilton,
that. Lewin did that.
and Miss Lou, of course,
Miss
was.
Lewin did that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember Colin Hilton, my favorite chef of blessed memory, asking me if I knew how he could find some of those women in St. Anne who smoke the pork belly or the tripe, where you use firewood and pimento and you build up a thing and you cover it with leaves and whatever, and you get that. He was trying to preserve a traditional
Where
method of preparing food.
a jerking.
Well, it's similar because of the use of the smoke and so on. But I mean, as a child, I can remember seeing it. It looks like jerky. Americans have a dried meat thing that can last forever in the wilderness.
Right.
It's similar to that.
Okay.
And they do it with pork belly and tripe.
Okay.
But I just remember him asking me, he said there were some ladies, some old women in Tracy. The SDC is supposed to, and the festival communities and committees and so on are supposed to. But there must be some apparatus at the domestic level that will preserve these things to connect your descendants to your past.
You know, that was the genesis of Mr. Siaga as an anthropologist going investigate so on and things.
Yeah. So when you consider that in modern society, in today's world, you still have a group of people who, a number of tribes, forget a group, 250 tribes at least, of people occupying a region, remaining under the control and directive of another nation, really, because Indonesians, though they have their own territory, they were given what is called administrative control. Administrative control is somewhat like what happens with, is it Turks and Caicos that now have a governor? And I think the BVI.
Yeah, so that's a part of what's happening.
Those are things happening within our region in some shape or form, and we should be collectively moving away from those structures and insisting and joining together as a people to help nations move into self-determination in the best sense of the word. Right now, we are advocating for increased resources to deal with climate change adaptation. The smaller countries of the world are the least contributors to the degradation of the planet and the destruction of the environment, wouldn't you say?
That's what the narrative says.
Yeah, except for maybe countries like Hong Kong, that those small, so
The
densely
narrative. populated
that.
The narrative, that's what it says. Yeah.
But I don't. What does the science say?
My sister, you know.
What does the science say in terms of pollution of the atmosphere and consumption and productive capacity and so on? I took it for granted that it was not just the narrative, but it's also a kind of, inevitable conclusion that one would come to when you think about the damage to the atmosphere.
Because if you follow, you see, photosynthesis is when you take carbon dioxide out and you return CO2. That's how it goes. So important, they call it the carbon imprint. I'm still trying to understand the language myself. So in a lot of ways, I don't seek to comment on it.
Yes.
Because even from it should bring somebody into comment that we get people understand what it is. Because remember, first was global warming.
Yes.
And then it switched to climate change. Because, So no.
I thought it was generally understood and accepted as credible science that the depletion of the ozone layer is the result of pollution arising from the release of certain toxins in the air coming out of huge industrialized commercial operations, carbon emissions from motor vehicles, where the more you have, the greater the damage. So a country of 3 million people will cause less damage than a country of 1 billion, for example. But we got the signal for the break, so we're gonna take our break and come right back. Welcome to the Ligony Club. This beautiful property is nestled in the heart of New Kingston and is the single largest sporting facility in the English-speaking Caribbean. JD's Urban Pub is our resident restaurant. You can trust them with all your catering requirements. Take advantage of our excellent amenities and allow yourself to be pampered by our courteous and efficient staff in the comfort of our well-appointed and welcoming public spaces. You are being invited to make this your home away from home. Take advantage of our full-service gymnasium. Our 8 tennis courts. Feel free to wander through the gardens and enjoy the relaxing atmosphere of this oasis that remains as charming today as when we first opened our doors in 1910, and our large-sized swimming pool. 6 squash courts. In the evenings, relax with us in the lobby bar and lounge. Call or visit us today. We're excited to meet you. Bring up your
Whole time
Jeremiah.
till me come
Good
back
morning.
again.
Yeah, good morning and welcome back. Boy, I tell you, we have to keep our eye on the cues. Okay, all right, Mr. Brown. You asked about Jeremiah chapter 10, 3 to 5. We have it here. And in the midst of all we're talking about, we'll, we'll say something about it. But I want to connect it to the general subject matter so that we discuss it in a particular context. Some time ago, I spoke about the false prophets of today. These false prophets are the people who give you opinions, predict what's going to happen with this or that area, and generally influence your decision making. Should I invest? Should I buy or hold?
Future people.
The future. And with some of them are engineers, some are lawyers, a lot of them are economists, and we could go on and on. Even when we talk about climate change and so on, in the break, Pastor Percival was saying to me, a lot of the narrative surrounding climate change is still under discussion as to its accuracy because people are infusing their own opinions on how they think things will go,
Yeah.
and some are exaggerating findings and conclusions in order to push, whether it is an economic agenda or a political agenda, but it's all about control one way or another.
You have some. That's why I like you, know.
That's why you like me?
Of course, man. You,
I
you
really
put it so,
listen.
so simply.
I really listen to you. So I understand that all around we are being manipulated and pushed in one direction or
Music
another.
being curated and everybody just and it. That is how the Secretary
Yes.
General opened the COP conference, which is happening in Egypt
In
at the
Egypt.
present time. And now we're
Right.
talking about $3 trillion worth of money being set up
Being
for
set up.
from the nations that have it to
Yes.
compensate for the persons who do not have it.
Right. So now you understand that first the saying goes out, thus said the Lord, and we make a prediction about the Lord's universe. And we base it on one of the modern gods. Technologies are really ancient gods still, you know.
No,
but
it doesn't change.
Every,
It's the same thing.
every generation find a new love for it.
Yeah.
And it becomes the standard by which we make decisions. In Jeremiah chapter 10, and I'm just going to read from verse 3. No, it's important that we start from,
Hear the word which the Lord
Yes.
speaks to you, O house of Israel. Thus says the Lord, do not learn the way of the pagan nations, and do not be terrified and distressed by the signs of the heavens, although the pagans are terrified by them, for the customs and decrees of the people are mere delusions, exercises in futility. This is from the Amplified. It is only wood which one cuts from the forest to make a god, the works of the hands of the craftsman with the axe or cutting tool. They adorn the idol with silver and with gold. They fasten it with hammers and nails, so it will not fall apart. They're like scarecrows in a cucumber field. They cannot speak. They have to be carried because they cannot walk. Do not be afraid of them, for they can do no harm or evil, nor can they do any good. What an instruction.
so that's a complete discrediting of the idols that we set up, the
Yes.
gods of the age, the places where we go to seek our guidance. These are man-made places. Can you imagine we create computers and artificial intelligence and it spits out predictions on trends and so on, and we take it as gospel, and it either causes us to go into a panic or it
Become
causes
fearful.
us to, yes, or it causes us to take far-reaching decisions that in the end create damage.
Yeah.
So
and we
here,
can come back. Yeah. Hear the
Jeremiah-
word of the Lord.
Yeah, Jeremiah's prophecy tells us, one, do not fear them because they can't harm you, but also do not glorify them because they can not do you any good.
They will fall down.
They will fall down.
And you know one of my themes that is present in this time and season of my life? Who will you worship? Because he's talking about the things that we worship.
Yes,
For
yes.
the altars that we go to and we seek to worship.
The things we use to replace him from the place of preeminence in our lives. One of the things that's interesting about this prophecy is that it speaks to how the very land that we covet and exploit and abuse and use to terrorize or disenfranchise others, it is to the land that we go to create the gods. They cut a tree out of the forest. A craftsman shapes it with his chisel. We dress it up. We have to carry it in our pockets because it cannot move, speak, or do anything. It is inanimate. Yet we are looking to it for as a source of inspiration, encouragement, whatever it is that you would normally look to a divine creator for. We use the thing that we have created as a replacement. And you cannot get it any clearer
Than that. But
than
it's
that.
interesting in verse 6.
It can't harm you,
The
and nor
prophet
can it
said-
do you any good.
Prophet says, there's none like you. You are great. And great is your mighty and powerful name. Who would not fear you, O King of the nations? For it is appropriate
Yes.
and it is your due. For among all the wise men of the nations, the prophets, and in all their kingdom, there is none like you. They are altogether irrational and stupid and foolish. In their discipline of delusion, their idol is only word that is ridiculous, empty, and worthless. So it says all of that, and then says, remember, let me tell you, as a man, remember I told you about
I told you.
Beethoven, that I am God. You make the idol, but remember I am God. It's instructive.
And he'll reclaim his position.
Yeah.
Because really, for a fact, the small things we do are no challenge
To him.
to his position.
That's why it's taken
And
the foolish things
yeah.
of this world.
No.
and confound
Let's
the
shift
wise.
gears a little bit because, as they say, what is it now? The cat is out of the bag.
There's a cat. There's a cat hiding in the bag.
And I tried to hide it from you.
But
Then she strolled in
So that's why we. That's why we call.
And
That's why you
reveal-
say puss in the bag.
and revealed her
Okay.
identity. Yes.
So there's no puss in the bag this
No,
morning.
not again. I mean, I did my very best, but she was early, and I didn't tell her to hide in the lobby. So today's guest from JPS, because we're going to be meeting with her in a short while. So I'm suggesting we shift gears a little bit, and oddly enough, or in the way of how our coincidences work, she is coming to speak with us in an area that touches on preservation of the environment too, because all these initiatives to reduce our reliance on fossil fuel and to look at renewables and to reduce carbon emissions into the atmosphere, those are part and parcel of the initiatives being acknowledged and practiced worldwide for the protection of our planet. Our guest from JPS today is none other than Mrs. Colleen Palmer Wright, project manager of eDrive. Last week when Richard Gordon spoke with us, he mentioned Colleen Palmer Wright. And Pastor Percival said, I'm his sister. And I thought he meant spiritual sister. And I tell you people, him have many. So every time him says sister, I now think less in terms of biological and more in terms of
But she named
spiritual.
Palmer. She named Palmer.
Still, but me name Palmer too.
Yeah, but you are my sister.
And there you go, yet I'm not your biological sister.
Who will tell you so?
Well, my father dead and gone, so you can say whatever you like.
Hello. I'm not telling the story about that one. No, you've been sharing the
Have
offline.
mercy.
Oh.
Let me see, your father dead and gone, my mom is alive, so if I were a typical Jamaican, I would immediately fight you for disparaging my mother's honor.
I understand.
So
But
she
you are-
give my father a jacket.
Oh, wow.
That's what it would mean.
Eh.
If I am your father's child,
Eh.
yet my mother gave me to another Palmer,
Interesting.
you would have challenged her honor.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, and you know that all Jamaicans, when you say your mother,
That's a curse word. That's a curse word.
Immediately-
Don't tell anybody about their
yeah,
mother.
put them up.
Yeah, that's put it.
Yeah,
I've seen
man.
men fight over that, you know.
Oh yes, one of the early
And we
cases.
use it as a thing.
One of the early cases that I saw from the Privy Council. Was it Privy Council? No, it wasn't Privy Council. It was a Jamaican immigrant in England being tried in one of their courts. And it was all about being told to go do something to the mother.
Yes,
For
and
which they needed an interpreter in court. And there was much talk about the cultural significance of an assault on the mother's character.
Oh, geez.
For Jamaicans, yeah man, if you want to...
To get anybody riled up and upset, And I've
Yeah.
seen, and even as I reflect on what happened when I was talking to the young people yesterday,
Yes.
that was a major thing for them. Yes,
Still.
about your mother. Don't tell me about your
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah, mother is reverenced. But you know something? Now, looking back at even that old case out of England, I'm recognizing that the courts of that time had some sensitivity for the importance of cultural expressions, and how, I mean, if you had said that to an Englishman, he probably would not even regard it as anything to say a thing like that. It would be offensive, but it would not be cause to,
Ready to fight.
yeah, a call to
A
arms.
call to arms for anything. I say,
Whereas something else in their culture
What
might
is-
be
what
the
about?
equivalent. Me no know. I don't know them well enough.
I'll defend the honor of my mother.
Yes.
Nobody's stopping across. All
Maybe the
culture.
queen, but maybe you're required by law to defend the queen's honor
No, but, or the king's honor now.
or the king's honor.
But a lot of wars have been fought over women.
Impugning the purity of a woman,
Yes.
a woman's character.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
and it should be so.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So, you see how we stray far from the thing.
No, we didn't stray.
Mrs. Palmer Wright is with us. Last week, yes, Richard Gordon spoke about the eDrive project, and I have not gone, I confess, I have not gone shopping for an electrical vehicle as yet,
They're very expensive.
which is probably the reason why I have not
Very
gone
expensive. Very
shopping.
expensive.
Yeah. But he spoke about, JPS effort to have charging stations installed island-wide. This week, Colleen is going to talk about their recently concluded Innovation Challenge, which is a part of the project. Over the last 6 weeks, 10 innovators pitched some amazing business ideas for the energy and transportation sector. And from the 10 innovators, the top 5 were awarded prizes.
Okay.
Very generous. Usually it's the top 3 or 2.
Top 5, yeah.
But the top 5 were awarded prizes. Colleen will also share more on plans to train 400 individuals in the maintenance and safety related to battery electric vehicles, called the BEV technology. So in a few minutes, she will join us. Please, if you're going to get coffee or take a refreshment break or whatever, it is important that you get a firm understanding of some of these issues. And if you are someone who is looking to retrain or, become a part of this new
Job opportunity.
Yes. If you know someone or you are yourself someone who wants to learn about it, please join us at after the 8:30 break. So in another, 10 or so minutes, I would say. Please stay tuned so you can learn a little bit from Percy's little sister, who is
My younger sister. She'll tell you that she's not
project
right.
manager. I'll let her tell me. In fact, when she comes, please introduce her as your little sister so she can tell you on the public airwaves.
She's going to say Percy. Or she
They call
might
it
say
Percy.
Junior.
All right, prepare us. So, Percy will have the pleasure of diving deep into the expertise of his youngest sister. She's the youngest sibling?
No, man. Second to last. I have somebody younger than her. I have 3 sisters who follow me. There's Scarlett, there's Colleen, and then there's Scarlett. My mother was stuck on...
she with the C's.
My mother was stuck with the C's, so my older sister is Cheryl. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody is C.
Right, okay.
I find it so fascinating.
Yeah, so we're going to spend some time with Colleen in a little while. This is a point at which I will just say again how much I appreciate that JPS is doing this with us. It has been a learning experience for me, and it has brought a very human face to their operations. Not only do they send us just a delightful array of individuals, all very decent, professional, personable individuals. Yes, have
Jamaicans.
come, both male and female, mostly female. But also they've given us an insight into what's happening behind the scenes as they themselves prepare to adapt to the necessities of the day, They've shown a very humanitarian face in terms of how
Electrification.
they're interacting
generalizing
with the communities that are stress
yeah.
points for them. And so, yes, I've appreciated their support, and I
No, they
do
have
hope
pivoted. They really have pivoted in a lot of ways. Partnering with the Jamaica Social Investment Fund in terms of going into areas. They go into areas. Their main thing is to
this project they're doing with the IDB for
electricity, but they're into skills training, employing people, and they're employing 400 persons because of this. So they really understand what it is to be a good corporate citizen. So they you know that you get credits for that. That even in
of
some
course,
countries now,
social credits.
They look at what is your corporate social responsibility profile.
Right.
And that is how some people invest, or they decide whether they want to work with that company or whatever they want to do. It's a big thing in Europe and in the States.
It should always be so. It should always be so. For me, it was always so. Even as a little tiny person with my $10 to spend, I made decisions about who I'm spending it with. I remember when I boycotted Trinidad goods. I was boycotting Trinidadian products long before other people were doing it. I just said, you know what? I see some treatment, I see some behaviors, and I don't regard it as being friendly.
I mean,
to this day, there are some magazines I don't buy.
My friend was in
Not for Trinidad, I mean, like magazines that are international publications and sold worldwide. I do not support it. There are some people who will never earn a dime of any money that passes through my hand.
In regards to that?
Yes, and there are some companies I would not invest in, a tobacco company or an alcohol company. I was always sensitive to the viewpoint that whatever I earn or possess, I am to spend it with people who deserve support and on products and services that I can feel proud of.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's just something that I think individuals have to, no matter where you sit in the ecosystem or in the food chain, take a decision on it. Be a good steward, always.
And you may be probably saying as we come up to our 8:30 break that what you do don't have an impact. That's not true. It's not true.
Well, it have an impact on me, which is my first.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying
my sensibilities.
Because most of us say that
I'm just one person.
Yeah, but if one person becomes another person and it swells to become the tsunami, then real change happens.
It can become 8 billion people.
It becomes real change. So, and that's where real change happens.
And it always begins with one person saying, you know what? I've had enough.
And my money and I get it with a dead first, as we say in Jamaica.
Mr. Brown is giving us a little nugget of information here as we talked about what would create problems in England. He says a man has been arrested for pelting King Charles and Camilla. What's her name now? With eggs. All right, let's take the break. When we return, our segment with JPS will begin, and we will be speaking to Mrs. Colleen Palmer-Wright. Welcome back, and we are joined at the table by none other than Mrs. Colleen Palmer Wright. No relation to me, but definitely a relation to Pastor Percival. So, Percy, I will just yield to you so you can give your sister
It's somebody that I've known for
the
all
hype
of my
up,
life.
the hype up welcome.
It's somebody I've known for all of my life. Yes. Because
All of her life.
all of my life and all of her life.
That would mean you're twins, and you're not twins.
Yes.
All right, sorry to correct your introduction, but
Yeah, but all of my life, all of her life.
All of
yeah,
her.
life, yes. She's Colleen Palmer, right? A very skilled professional. As I was relating last week, so she's not a neophyte to this field. She's worked in the energy industry, not only locally but overseas. As far as time I never did say I'm going to talk to her on the phone. So she is the the project manager for the E-Drive project, which is funded by the IDB.
IDB Lab
And
and
Church,
JPS.
yes, right. So
and you come to us from JPS.
And
Yeah.
come to us from the JPS Foundation.
Yes, right, which is where your substantive post is, or you're an IDB
No.
on loan personnel.
I'm not an unknown substantive by the JPS
she's, yes.
for this project.
Yeah.
So I always say to persons when I'm first introduced that I have the honor of serving in this capacity, because really I see it as a service to the nation.
It absolutely is.
To be a part of this project, which really is game changing for us. It's important that we do it because it's a part of signaling our readiness to the rest of the world that we are here and we are doing things to make sure that Jamaica will not be left behind as a part of this new movement into the e-mobility future.
And and as I was saying before, through this program we posted with JPS for starting earlier this year, in terms of that JPS Plus is understanding what needs to happen, and we are seeing another side, another
more human
treatment
face.
The JPS God, they might cut off the light or something like that. in terms of-
Predators.
And so on. But so we welcome this project, so you can continue to tell us what the project is about. It was mentioned last week by Mr. Gordon, it was?
Yeah.
Mr. Richard Gordon. And he said, so what have you been up to? And we've been up to enough things, but
So yes, the project started back in 2020. Thanks for that question, because it gives me an opportunity to talk a little bit about Project E-Drive. So as we said before, it is funded by the JPS and the IDB Lab. It is one of several projects that is being undertaken in this space in preparation for what we call the e-mobility future, and that's the introduction of the electric vehicles, and not just only cars, but also bikes and trucks and buses and everything else that's vehicle in this space. Also, it's more about not just the charging stations that Richard would have spoken to you about last week, or cars and so forth. It's about all developing the ecosystem, so everything around it. So it's around training, making sure that our technicians are trained, making sure that our fire personnel or first responders are also trained in the different areas to make sure that when the cars come here, we can service them. If we have a fire, we can respond to them. It also is about enabling entrepreneurs in this space to come into their own, to get some training, to support this new industry. So in that regard, we have been working with entrepreneurs to develop them. So we would have had a program earlier this year where we partnered with the Branson Center to train 13 entrepreneurs in ideas related to solving problems in energy and transportation, right? So we would have worked with 30 of them, and then a further support in keeping with one of the project's objectives in terms of supporting small and medium sized enterprises. We would have had an innovation challenge to seek to further build them out. So we selected a further 10 from that 30, and we would have just concluded a 6-week innovation challenge, which we hosted between September to October of this year. So that's some of the things that we have done already. Richard would have spoken to you last week about JPS SCO's role in this development of the ecosystem, and that is the installation of the charging stations, the first 10 across Jamaica. And of course, you know that I hope you have seen them.
I've seen them.
You have
Seen
seen
them?
them?
Okay,
Yeah.
I have not seen them.
Yeah, I
I've
want
not
at
been
Manor Park.
traveling around.
Yeah, there's one at Manor Park.
Okay.
There's
Well, I've
one
seen that one,
up the road
actually.
here at Total. We had the first one out at Boots Raxall, so they're all over
And
the
you have a
place.
station, a charging station too at JPS at,
Yes.
at your office. But I want to hear about the innovation challenge.
That's why I just don't ask.
So what was the challenge?
So the Innovation Challenge was a 6-series event. So what we did was that we took our entrepreneurs through a series of challenges, 1 to 6, where we provided them with opportunities to pitch their ideas to different persons in the field. So we had partners. So we partnered with persons like the Branson Center,
Yeah.
Tropical Mobility, Stewart's, Evergo. We partnered with persons from the Mona Engineering Society as well.
So
They were also on board.
the innovation challenge grew out of the work you did with the entrepreneurs, and you took the 10 best ones, gave them an opportunity to pitch to the market to see who would support their idea. What kind of ideas did you get?
And that's so interesting. The ideas were far and wide. We had persons who were developing on-the-go charging stations, on-the-go charging opportunities, on-the-go opportunities to service their vehicles if they're broken down on the road coming out of the trainees. We had for the farmers, they were not to be outdone. There was an idea to do an electric wheelbarrow. We also had the electrification of motorbikes and bicycles. We also had the conversion of vehicles from ICE vehicles into EVs, because that can happen. We know that not everybody will be able to buy a new vehicle, right? So what do you do if you have that classic car that you can't let go of?
Yes.
It can be converted, and we
Yeah.
did see that coming out of the challenge. We had an opportunity, there was an idea around the electrification of trains as a solution to all transportation problems to move persons across Jamaica to help with the congestion that we see on the roads.
So were there any truly new ideas? Because most of those exist elsewhere.
Truly new
Yes.
ideas in the forms of the innovation that they brought to
Yes.
it. So say for instance, talking about the intelligent motor. That was one of them that it came out second. But what that idea did was that it was taken an improvement on what now exists
On what the derivative.
now in the electric space around
Yes.
the battery vehicles,
Yes.
and saying let's move the intelligence to help manage range to the wheels. So it's making the motors in the car a little bit more intelligent to do
Intelligent,
that.
responding to
Responding to
actual
that.
environment.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but based on what you just said, Mrs. Right.
Just call her Colleen.
And
Because
Colleen
I
is quite
certainly
okay.
will be calling her Colleen.
Is what won the challenge? What idea won
Which
the
one
challenge?
did- yes.
So the Matthew out of Dismas in St. Anne,
Oh, my parish.
yes, his idea to do the electrification of the motorbike, or the bicycle, that's what it is.
Yes.
Right? So he actually has a working, he did it from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So he started all the way back, you'd have seen the transitions coming out to where it is today.
There's an electric
An
bicycle.
electric bicycle.
That's on the market now.
He did his. So you
So,
can go to
wow.
Matthew if you have a bicycle that you want to
Actually,
electrify.
actually saw my friend Jody Myrie with an electric bicycle that he developed probably 7 years ago.
Okay. So he was
Do
thinking
you remember?
ahead of it.
Yes, yes.
Yes, so he
And he
did-
actually had the prototype built. I saw it at his house. Do you remember he was showing it to us? I must find him and let him know that
Somebody actually.
somewhere someone else did it and it won a challenge.
And it worked.
Yeah,
Actually
and
worked.
I mean, he had
been on it.
a beautiful, the one that I saw. You know, there's like nothing new under the sun.
Oh yes,
Okay.
if you the important thing is
Yeah.
patenting it once
Yes,
you have
yeah,
developed it.
yeah.
So
I'm
and
not sure what he
improving
did
on
about
it.
his, yeah.
Let's really
And the truth is, some ideas are worth repeating.
I agree with you.
So how you do yours is can be patented differently from how.
Differently, yes.
All right. So what is it that these people that they won? It says the top 5 were awarded prizes.
With
I'm
money?
interested in
And with money
hearing
that
what
they
they
can go beg
won.
them some?
They want money, but no, it's not for you to beg them any. It's money that we want them to use to further
Develop their
themselves and
ideas.
Okay.
ideas.
So who funded the prizes? Was this
So-
another partnership?
So the prizes were funded, that's the cash prizes were funded by the JTS Foundation.
Okay.
So the top 5 persons got prizes in the amount of $1 million. So we would have awarded the 4th and the 5th prize persons, and then the top 3 persons would have, in addition to their cash prizes, also gotten from the project opportunity to go to the Branson Center, that 12-week
Yes.
training program that
Yes.
Branson offers.
Yes,
So
yes.
they will get that to develop their business ideas. So what we really want to do is to provide them with the opportunity to grow and develop their businesses in this space. So as you rightly said, the ideas may not have been all new, all innovative, but certainly for this Jamaican space,
New to Jamaica.
new to Jamaica, and
Yes.
to how they're doing them in the e-mobility space.
Yes.
Because remember, that's the market that we're seeking to develop,
To promote,
and
and
to
develop,
promote at
yeah.
this point in
Yeah.
time. So they would have done that. Yes.
Would you believe it? We only have 12 minutes left. And we have not talked about the training of the 400 individuals. That really has me excited. Why training?
Why training? Because training is another objective of the project. So I said before, I started telling you some of the objectives. So development of entrepreneurs was one, and the other one really is capacity building and training, and that's in our component of the project. This component we sought to partner, very strategic decision made to partner with the Heart and Estate Trust. You know, they are our national training agency, and so we have partnered with them and other expert in this space to develop a training program that is not just a program that you're going to attend and get a certificate to say, I went to training. But the training courses that have been developed are certified by the NCC vet. So we worked with the NCC vet over the last couple of months to have these occupational standards developed. We would have identified an international curriculum out of the UK for adaptation for Jamaica, and we would have built on it to make sure that it's suited for our Jamaican
Or context and takes.
Yes,
Context.
and this will be an ongoing course.
It will be
You have developed a
ongoing.
course.
It is going to
The
be
first
ongoing.
cohort will be selected by.
So the first
tell me about
400,
that.
The first
Yes.
400. So what we've developed 3 training programs actually. One is for our first responders because they are important. You're bringing in vehicles, this new system, of course you need to upskill, you need to develop. And so what we have done here is that we have developed a training program for first responders. And then we have 2 other training programs for our vehicle technicians. So the first one is called Electric Hybrid Vehicle Hazard Management, and that will be for our first responders. Our first responders here being our fire brigade or JCS personnel, the tow truck operators, the REACT teams, the JAA, the automobile industry persons who come on the scene when
Okay.
we have an accident.
An accident.
right?
Because the fire from an electric vehicle is different from that. So it's
certainly
totally different. Yeah.
And even more different dependent on the type of battery.
Okay.
So how you deal with a fire from a lithium and battery is different from another kind of battery.
battery.
And the battery technology is changing so,
So
rapidly,
rapidly.
that you need to be aware of those things. And then the second 2 training programs now are really for our vehicle technicians. One is in routine maintenance and safety, and the other is in system repair and replacement.
So what has happened, Colleen, is that this whole thing with the EV technology is opening up a new field. It's innovative. It's allowing for our young people to go into that to earn some money because that's important.
That's important.
And it's offering a new skill to
A new
persons who
skill.
are existing mechanics who won't become redundant by reason
by reason
of the introduction can upgrade their skills. And Heart is your partner, and
And that is Jagas. You're partnering with Jagas.
No, we're partnering with the Heart and Estate Trust.
So-
this
No, Jagas is a
program-
part of
Yeah,
art.
but whichever-
yeah.
whichever-
Where is it going through? Because
So that's what I want to say now. So while Jaggers is what everybody knows, the Heart and Estate Trust actually offers automotive courses on other campuses.
yes, I know
So
that.
this training will be offered at Jaggers, at the Derek Chester
In Saint Elizabeth.
as well as the Portmore
Okay.
vocational training. So once the program becomes available,
Mm.
and the programs will become available come next year, but it's going to be very, as we said before, for the project,
First 400.
first 400. And you'd ask a question, how will we do this first 400? So 200 will be trained as first responders.
That's true.
And those 200 will come from our stakeholders I just spoke of just now,
Right.
right? The other 200, we will have a recruitment, and of course, eDrive is on the social media platforms. We will open that up.
So you can
later on
apply,
this year. You
and
can
then you have a
apply,
process to go
and you
through.
have a process to go through to be selected
Okay.
for the first 200. And we want to make sure that we are targeting persons, those youth on the road who want something to do, but probably have
On the corner.
on the corner. We want to target those persons as well as persons who are already in the field who want to upscale.
So pretty soon you're gonna be opening up the recruitment for the other 200.
For the 200 technicians.
The technicians that are people outside
who
of the first
the first
responders.
responders. Because right now we're actively having discussions with those stakeholders.
That's who is gonna be
recruitment
selected.
process, yes.
I hope
for
I hope it is impartial because people say, oh,
It will be, it will be impartial in terms of who gets selected. You're going to have to meet certain requirements.
okay.
It's not, you remember it's developed under Heart and Estate Trust. So you will need to meet certain requirements.
Okay,
to come
certain
in-
standards to do it,
to
yeah.
come in to do the program.
So all those people who have done physics and chemistry and know why I did that, it is an opportunity because understanding the physics and the chemistry at that situation becomes important and the
Becomes
maths.
important as well, yes.
Wow. So we've come down to the end of the
almost we have a few
the
minutes.
So what do you want to highlight to us? Where do you want to go in terms of this exciting innovation?
Exciting innovation. So first of all, I want to use this opportunity to thank our partners who have partnered with us on the Innovation Challenge, because I'll tell you that one of the things that stood out for me was the willingness of partners in our space to come forward at no cost to provide mentorship opportunities for these young innovators.
That's the
There
10
were
people.
10 persons who came on board and they paid it forward. We looked at their business plans. They told them how they could do things differently. And so I want to really thank the Stewart's Auto Group. I want to thank Tropical Mobility. I want to thank Solar Buzz, as well as Jamico, who were our mentors. And as I said before, Branson Center, the Mona Engineering Society, who worked with us, also Business Works, Evergo, who came on as judges and mentors during that period. A network that would have been formed with our innovators to make sure that what we're doing is sustained, because sustainability is a
Oh,
big
I love
part.
that word. That is sustainability is important,
Very
crucial.
important. And while we call ourselves Project eDrive, the real name of the project is building a sustainable ecosystem of inclusion and access.
Wow.
That really is the big name. We have
Yeah.
called it Project eDrive, but it really is about all of those things. It's
Inclusion and
about-
access.
Yes, so it's about working with women entrepreneurs. It's making sure that all the opportunities are open to everyone. Though JPS through eDrive is leading the charge, it really is a partnership of everybody who's in this space.
Yes,
that
that
we're
does.
building out.
Yeah, that does carry the imprint of the IDB's overall focus,
Yes.
and inclusion is a big part of it. Can we just repeat how persons can win the lottery for the remaining 200 seats.
The lottery, you call it. Why you introduce that term? We're Christians, both talk about lottery.
Well, if it's only 200 seats and you have a big
But you know, it's
population.
200 seats initially, but
yeah.
the program is not going away.
But I suspect these 200 seats, persons won't pay to be
You
registered.
won't pay after I help.
Because our trust
no,
NSA,
that's interesting.
important.
There is
So-
usually some registration.
just
There's
small,
some
small, but it's not
registration,
significant.
But
Yeah.
it's not, you will not need to pay for the
That's where
program.
education tax us and your art tax. They pay for it.
So you understand when I said the strategic decision
Yeah.
was made to work with heart.
Yes.
Because it was
Yeah.
making sure the sustainability
That it's
again.
affordable and accessible.
Yes, affordable and,
And
accessible.
accessible.
to all.
Yeah.
Inclusion and access.
Right. So, I tend to have a soft spot for the people in the remote parishes, let's put it that way.
So them in St. Elizabeth, thank
yeah.
God. Which is
we're
close to
St.
So that's why I want to
Fort Maria,
hear
yes.
just a repeat of the places where you can
Where
be
our
involved
church
in this program and not be too, don't hear that it is only being offered that
In Kingston, no.
in
It will
Kingston.
be offered at Jagos.
Yeah.
It will also be offered at the Chester Vocational Training Center out in St. Elizabeth.
St. Elizabeth.
And at Port Maria Vocational Training Center in St. Mary. And those locations, again, were strategically selected to make sure that the persons who are in St. Thomas and Portland
Yeah.
can probably get to St. Mary, have a cousin or somebody there. Jagos, because we're talking about Kingston and St. Catherine.
yeah.
St. Andrew,
around
Clarendon,
And
St.
those, where the
St.
ones in
Andrew.
St. Anne going to go?
The ones in St. Anne can actually go to St. Mary. It's not so far, Portmore BTC.
Yeah, so no, but
I can tell that you are
And I'll
city
tell you
people.
though. No, but I'll tell
From
you
my
too.
neck of the woods in St. Anne to get to
Program
St.
is
Mary's
going to be
half a day.
hybrid. It's going to be a hybrid program. You see,
Online.
remember,
Anyway, I know we're not everywhere, but it's good to know
but
that
it's a start.
it's a
right?
start.
And
It's a
then
wonderful
over
start.
time, Heart NSD will develop.
Yes.
yeah, because the good thing with Heart is because of the pilot in those places and then anywhere that they offer mechanics, whether it is in the main or we call them the community training interventions. Because there are a lot of those, then you can be able to access
My
that.
two brothers did programs with NCT Vet.
NCT Vet.
And yes, I had to bring them from St. Anne to Kingston, put them in boarding, and they went to school. And I tell you, if they didn't have someone to do that, they could never have attained
What they have
the
now.
skill
But they
that
get in there,
have
man.
now. And so there really is a greater need to make some of these things more accessible.
And
That's why I have
what we're
community
doing.
training interventions.
Yeah,
And that's what
Yeah.
we're seeking to do through
Yeah.
Project E-Drive.
yeah. So that's a welcome advance,
Yes.
moving the ball forward. Well, thank you, Mrs. Palmer Wright.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, and I do hope we can hear more about the initiative as it matures and begins to bear fruit.
And yes, I think we have been bearing a lot of fruit. There's so much more I could tell you about E-Drive this morning, but thank you for
You
having
will just
me.
have to come again.
We most certainly.
And when
I-
you come, bring your electric vehicle so we can fool around with it.
We're still praying on that one, but I've told everyone that that's going to be the next vehicle. I have done so much work in this space
Yes,
in the last
that-
2 years. I believe that it's important that we
Yes,
get there.
of course, you must
So they
be a
might
part
just
of
give
what
her
you're
one,
promoting.
You know, a
You
good
know what?
example.
We'll put that specifically in the prayer.
Yeah, put
the
that in
model
the-
vehicle.
The prayer that we have on a Wednesday morning.
Yes.
Amen.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Percy, for lending us your sister.
We can't let her up here at work.
It's what I do and what I enjoy doing. So thank you so much, Blessed FM, for having us. At JPS
So she named
Foundation.
Bless
Yes.
FM.
Yes, because you know we're blessed.
Bless FM.
I know,
FM,
sis.
oh Lord.
It's prophetic.
Prophetic. Okay.
Welcome back. It was a delight to watch Percival interact with his younger sister, and also to see the clear respect for the skills and talent of this phenomenal woman who is, she shows such heart for what she's doing. And it's just impressive. You know, earlier we talked about personal responsibility and even a little bit about the fundamental rights and freedoms, and recognizing that at the individual level, persons also need self-determination, are entitled to it, can pursue the things they love, can determine their own economic future by the activities they undertake. And I watch your sister speaking about creating opportunities for people to be trained, the innovation challenge, and just what she even specifically remembered of the ideas that came out of, you know, the cultural outpourings of our young men and women who got involved. It is really a blessing to see persons who are using their gifts in an area that they love and kind of producing fruit. I should say plenty fruit has been produced. So
Yes.
first I'll ask you a personal question. Is this the first time that you have sort of had an official conversation with her concerning her work?
No, because when she was overseas, because as I pointed out, she
You
was
interviewed her overseas when she was overseas?
No, interviewed her person what is happening, because it's somebody that I cover in prayer. Because there was a time she was in Suriname working with IDB on a major project there, and it was stressful.
Oh, so I did pick up the IDB vibes.
Yeah, man.
That's why I thought she was
You know, yeah, man,
with
she-
IDB as opposed to
No, she
JPS.
did, and then that came to an end, and she came home, and then the Lord opened up this one for her, because she said, no, man, that's too stressful. But a bigger thing is, as children, she looks like my mother. If you want to think of anybody who actually, in terms of their physical presence,
Yes.
she looks like
She
mommy.
carries that.
She carries that. Yeah, so I'm proud of her in terms of her achievement, what she's done with her children too. As I was pointing out to you, I think last week I did first, and then it broke the window in terms of going to university and
Oh, right. You're the forerunner for your
yes, I did it.
your generation.
My family members, and she's followed. All of her children are graduates at the university, because she said she started before me, which is true. And then
Meaning she started producing children before you,
yeah. She
but
started-
you went to university
yeah, right.
before she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so hey, we've had some interesting times, you know.
Oh, yeah, your sister.
Yeah, man. That
All
one
right,
especially.
Not like how she gone now. You can tell us.
No, man. We've had some interesting times.
You
You
can
know.
boss on her.
No, we shared an apartment together in terms of big brother, little sister with her daughter, was the oldest one. That was interesting. So,
Well,
and I've
not all of Percival's stories are good for airplay.
no, but I'm just saying, and I did her wedding too.
Oh, meaning you were the pastor who
Yes.
officiated?
Yes, I was,
after-
and I did
oh,
it
that
for one
is-
of her. No, I didn't cry that time.
When did you cry?
No, but it was good, you know. Yeah. Well, it's just fascinating. Our relationship over the years.
So were you also the giveaway?
No, Daddy was there. Daddy was there.
because
Daddy
I
was
wondered-
alive still.
I wondered if you asked, who gives this woman
Yeah,
away, and then
they
jump
drove
around
the
and
back
said,
and
I
said,
do.
me. No. My father
Sounds
was
like something you would do.
my father was alive.
alive
then,
at
you
the
know,
time.
but Daddy was alive at that point in time. You know, Yes, you know, must think of something like that.
Well, I could see you doing it, so what can I say?
But I'm really.
Yeah.
It is
Refreshing.
It is refreshing and good to see what
Yeah.
she's doing, and whenever she does something, she's passionate about it. She's passionate.
You
about
know, earlier we were talking about the need for international cooperation and just Jamaica taking her place on the world stage
Again.
in some of these things. And here we are in the area of technology. The IDB and JPS are partners in bringing this very comprehensive, I heard the word sustainable in what she was saying, this focus to the shift in technology from the fossil fuel based
Only.
vehicles to electric and just relying on renewables. Do you see how important it is that we can leverage these relationships so that even just the scope of what they're doing, including training, building entrepreneurial capacity,
I love that.
and
I love those
innovation,
aspects.
this is really the modern way to dealing with any subject matter
Yeah, it is, because
that you can
when
cast
you
such
really
a
consider
wide
it,
shadow.
having been involved in different projects, even as project manager, but more in terms of human resource, I like the idea that, okay, you're rolling out the hardware, but you're also rolling out the software. In terms, and you're
All the
rolling out
intangibles.
yes, and rolling out
Yeah.
the human resource, and you're also saying, okay, this is coming, we're gonna make it sustainable. So you're training persons who will now have opportunity to increase their wealth, and that's so crucial.
yeah.
And so I laud this project in terms of what it has done and what it will continue to do in regards to the ecosystem, as they call it in Jamaica. Yeah.
It's the horizontal and the vertical mapping of opportunities that is critical as well, and the way it is being done. This principle of inclusion is something that is coming from the highest levels of international best practice, meaning even at the United Nations, the level of the United Nations. And remember, I was talking about these movers and shakers recognizing that if you're going to maintain any semblance of peace, you have to create systems that would neutralize the points of conflict. So, and a thing that happens all the time, and we've seen it happen here, technology change and new industries spawn. Local people don't own it. You bring in vehicles that depend on a new technology, all the trainers, the mechanics, everything have to come from overseas. The difference in this approach, which I truly admire, is this initiative to train local mechanics, people who are native to the various industries here, to take their place in it. It was not unheard of for persons to say, for example, you are the motor vehicle manufacturer, you dominate that space to the exclusion of the local mechanics. I hope truly gone are the days when if certain things happen, they have to fly in a mechanic from Germany, or you have to bring somebody from, another country. That Jamaican tradesmen can be catered for and a door be opened that is accessible at a reasonable price. That's a blessing.
Well, but I know of somebody known to me personally. He's Jamaican. He's Guyanese, but he's Jamaican. He says, this is where I want to live. He has a very interesting story. But he is the person that trains with all these high-end vehicles. You having a problem? Go to Kenny. And he's Jamaican, and what he has done is that he is causing the sustainability to happen, because he's taking a cohort of young men
And begin to train.
Yes. them, and when they're having problems, so the Toyotas, the BMWs, all the iron, when they have a problem, they can't go to Kenny. And Kenny, what he's been doing on his own is that he's been training people. He says, no, I know, but I want more people. I want more people to know this, and people are localized and understand what is happening. So he, on his own, he just decided,
He's making a mark.
He's making a mark. Kenny, big up to you, Kenny. Big up to you.
I remember, I think the person, he has died now. One of the hotel moguls who decided to set up like his own tour company. When it became necessary to move visitors from the hotel to different attractions and so on and so forth.
He did that?
Instead of utilizing the
local,
existing
locals, the Juta guys who park up.
Yes, I think Sandal set up a tour company.
And
then even like I chastised the Moon Palace people for this too, because I then heard too that they were part and parcel of this move to use foreign cultural entertainers.
Oh yeah.
So the business of inclusion is important, not just gender-based inclusion, but just
Inclusion generally
including
across the board.
local talent in the opportunities that abound in the different industries that are spawned. The day is going to come when it might not be as feasible to be ferrying your foreign
That's never been feasible,
talent.
you know.
Yeah.
That is why some of these local car companies, when they got to service them, yeah, you pay
Yeah.
an arm and a leg and a foot and everything with it. Whereas the other guys who have learned the technology say, oh yeah, and they just do it and they undercut
Right.
and them,
Yeah.
because
The economies of scale don't always work against us. There are some things that you'll get better pricing and so on with using things that come from a larger economy. But really, of a fact, whenever you can support local effort, it's a good thing to do.
And I just want to throw this in because when Jamaicans go overseas to work, especially the auto mechanics, if a gentleman in a garage meet upon a Jamaican whose work is salt, he nah let him go. He nah let him go. He do everything within his power to keep him because they are so trained in a way. But the Jamaican come and say, but you did consider doing that and that and that.
Yeah,
And the problem that seems so intractable that you can't solve, the Jamaican. So when them, so like I know of a personal case where this guy is a Jamaican, he's overseas working and he's doing well, and him boss, he say him going over on vacation. So him boss say, yeah, come back. Come back. And then to
Wanna
make sure,
keep
you know,
him.
somebody else come and him telephone call him. Make sure say come back, you know, cause
But you know, there's a certain amount of hardship engenders ingenuity
tell me about
and
it, sister.
resourcefulness.
When I go to Cuba, I see it. When I went to
So
Cuba, I
there's
was impressed.
Some things that people in a richer economy will throw away. We figure out how to fix it and how to make it work.
I remember that when I went to Cuba, that was so fascinating. I said,
Yeah.
I see these cars in movies. I remember I go to Cuba in the 90s, in the early 2000s. I said,
We saw a few ancient cars in Ethiopia too. Some classic cars.
yeah, man, I said,
We saw Ladas, yeah, and there were some other cars that 70s Toyota Corolla,
Yeah.
Lowell says. I just know they looked old.
no, what I'm saying to myself, and then you talk about innovation in Cuba, you know what, because to solve their public transportation problem, do you remember, is it elephant name they call it?
No. Don't vehicle name Elephant?
No, they had a name for it.
What, Pumpkin? VW?
No, man. What they did, they had a tractor head, and they built these elongated, we call them articulated buses in
This is
Cuba.
where in Cuba?
In
Oh,
Cuba.
okay.
So the bus driver, I traveled on it. The bus driver
Oh.
is the tractor head, and he has this. It's not an elephant. It's something. They had a right name for it. I can't remember.
A
it was.
snake, maybe? Because it
No.
looked like a snake.
No,
All right,
man.
you
But
find it. I didn't
remember-
travel on anything like that.
And because I was a young person, I said,
Yeah,
I
excited
enjoy
with it.
everything and go to
Yeah.
waterfront. But I found it so fascinating.
No, I
man.
didn't see any of those.
And you see these pull up, and it of itself, it could carry like
So it looks like a train. Slow
Yeah.
moving too, no doubt.
about
But gets you there.
400 people one time. It moved.
You know, on the point of enjoyable transportation adventures, I had to leave from Kingston to Montego Bay for my flight the other day,
Yes,
and we took Knutsford Express. It was a delight.
it was. You just discovered it.
I'd never.
I discovered it a long time ago. And when I was doing something, I just jump and say, "Me nah drive today." Let me
Knutsford.
just jump on
Listen to
Knutsford and I'm
me.
gone. Oh, we are free and exit. But you see now, if you're going on Knutsford now, you have to book in advance. You can't just
Oh, it's in
turn
demand
up.
now. You can't just show up
you
in your
can't show up.
bag.
So a lot of people I know, like I was doing this project in Montego Bay, I said, "Me now drive today." So I booked my ticket, took the Knutsford, I said, "Meet me there," and
Yeah,
did it. And in the
just
evening, I
right.
had to be back at a certain time. I said, "Only come
Yes.
pick me up about thing." But Knutsford, the guy who had this idea, fantastic idea. I don't know. You are from Kingston. But
I'm
while
not
as
from
a-
Kingston, I'm
you are
from St.
from
Ann.
St. Ann, but you've lived in Kingston.
I
I remember the
I'm a
days.
documented alien
Yeah.
in Kingston.
I remember the days when I served in the leadership of UCCF and would get to preach at churches. So having student appreciation at a church, and this is what happened to me. So first time I'm going to Montego Bay, So them said, go downtown, take this
Take the
bus.
bus.
Somebody is going to meet you. The then leader at Samshire Teachers College would have put me up as a student dorm, and then I'd go to preach the following day. Those days, to get from Kingston to Montego Bay was a 3 to 4 hour journey. Because there was no highway. So I get up early I was a national chairman, I used to say up there. So I go down, take my bus, put my back on in overtime, have my suit and thing, take the minibus, go down to Montego Bay, reach to Montego Bay, go up to Samtar Teachers College, because that's where the then president was. He had set it up, and me I go and I ask. And they say, no, there, I know. They ask, no, there. And I said, no, man, me not going to sleep out the ground tonight. You know what I did? I went back down and came home back.
The bus
I come back in.
What's the moral of the story?
The moral of the story, it's not a moral
Travel
story.
with your suit?
You travel. No, because it was a new experience for me. As I think it was
going all the way
2019,
across.
Going all the way to
across
Montego Bay,
across the
expecting
island.
to meet somebody. The person not there, you're walking all across, and then say they don't know nothing about it.
Yes.
Oh.
Off air, I will ask you what happened when you eventually caught up with the.
No, him say, him
The
just say
goodly
go,
person.
just say go up down and if he gets him was coming. Because as students, so I say, no, what, boss?
Forgettable students.
Yeah, I said.
But
that-
I want to say something here, Percy, because, many times we speak as if a good idea is an innovative idea. Truth of the matter is, I grew up with buses plying the route on a settled basis between country and town.
You know them.
And, they didn't...
Country bus.
Yeah, and that is old, ancient something. What made my cross-country ride with Knutsford a delight is because I sat in the nose of the bus upstairs and I was able to take videos and pictures of
Right.
all the things that I don't usually pay sufficient attention to when I am driving at a lower altitude.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I know
so
it is
the double-decker
the
bus
bus is
was what made it
delightful, yeah.
delightful. One of the things that we have to work on in this country, we see people doing things, and rather than support them with the infrastructure and the financial resources to do it to a point of excellence, we go and do it ourselves because we are moneyed, we are well placed, and we can dominate.
but
What's happening with Knutsford is a publicly traded company, is what would happen when any well-resourced person can take a common idea and make it into something.
which
it
is
would
where
be-
government comes in.
Thank you.
Where government comes
And
in,
our
that's
our
the
governance.
comes in
Yes.
and allows
Yeah.
for those ideas of innovation to back it.
Yeah.
But you know what used to happen? People would have wonderful ideas and go to the bank, And,
Oh,
you,
yes.
and you see that idea somebody else have it.
You see the manager or in wife or
No, it's
a
a
good
what-
friend or...
And I know
yes.
of so many stories of
Yes.
people that have
Yes.
happened to.
Yeah.
Them say, no. And then they say the idea somewhere. You say, what in the name of heaven happened with that?
Yep.
That is my idea.
Yeah.
Why don't take it up, run with it? Because you have the
Because
access
you have
to,
access to
the
money.
And we must not do that. That is part of the imbalances in our country. People do it, and
It's
they
an
want more and
injustice.
more. It's an
It's an
injustice,
injustice.
and they keep perpetuating this thing. Because even the Development Bank of Jamaica, that is supposed to drive development, instead of dealing directly with the money, them and lend it to the bank, the
commercial
initial
banks
and them have
who
to put them
create-
spreading it, and so the
Yes.
money is not happening. And a lot of people have said they have become afraid because of the financial meltdown with FinTech and so on, where the government was doing it, and them say, government say we're not bankers, but at least you have the development bank and put in the people that can properly monitor, advise the people, guide them in terms of what they're doing, because you really want to create wealth for all of your people there.
Inclusion.
Yes.
You're back to the principle of inclusion. So, me, I'm working to just keep you on a hot, boiling point for the whole show. So I know you want to talk about Mr. Tufton.
Oh, Tufton
The headline
again.
says, no misappropriation flagged in audit, says Tufton. Of course, we know.
What does misappropriation mean? Let us define what misappropriation means.
Well,
because that term
while
has
you
been
are
used
the-
against
yes.
me, you know.
Really?
Yes, man.
But while you are hunting down the definition of misappropriation, consider how do you test for misappropriation if there are no documents or system? How do you even know if there has been misappropriation? And you know, Dr. Tufton has come out speaking. Well, the first line of the article says he has engaged in damage control regarding $400 million in the COVID-19 expenditure regulation breaches. One of the reasons why regulation breaches are important to flag is because they deny you the opportunity to test for things like misappropriation, meaning the fund was allocated for a specific purpose, but it went to another purpose, and you can't tell how it got to this new place. The Auditor General did find misappropriation. She said money went to one ministry, and she see where another ministry spent more than 100 million of it, and there is no process in place that matches what the regulations require if you're moving money from one ministry to another ministry, department, or agency. Misappropriation. Misappropriation don't necessarily mean say you thief it.
No, it don't thief it.
It means you did not apply it to the appropriate
The action
purpose.
of misappropriating something, embezzlement, and alleged misappropriation of fund, that not help me. We just want
No,
a
that
definition.
was-
We
yeah.
want what it means.
But just use the word,
The act of
Percy.
stealing something that you have been asked to take care of and using it for yourself. That one is strong though.
Well, here what happened. When you applied to the wrong purpose, nobody can know if you stole it or if you spent it properly but didn't have the right paperwork.
No, because you see, misappropriation synonym.
But it is generally means you applied it to your own purpose.
So that's
Or
what
design.
happened.
Yeah, so he's basically saying the Auditor General hasn't found that money was stolen, but she's not been given the opportunity to say whether it was stolen or not. She just see something saying it went over there. She don't even know if it was applied to the right purpose or just somebody just say that's where it went, because there's no paper trail that you can check. In response to which the
To
minister
appropriate
says,
wrongly.
yes, that's the obvious and plainest meaning.
Appropriate
Yes,
wrongly.
yes.
So I give you $100 million, you take it and use it for something else, but that's not what it was
That's
set
not
in the
what it
budget
was.
for them.
Right.
That's what the
You have
misappropriation.
misappropriated it, yeah.
She's not saying that them steal it.
And she doesn't have to.
She just said misappropriation of
Yes.
funds. And she said, where's the documentation? All right. So that's her point was, okay,
Yes.
where's the documentation? You spend
Yes.
this, it's really the hotel thing now.
So, yes, in particular. And she not reached the other big
And you're
ticket items
using
yet.
that. You said that many of the decisions were taken on the
spur of the moment,
which lines
because
were on the
lives
line?
were on the
Top
line.
tell. That is
But
a
you're telling
misappropriation
me
of the
no.
truth.
So, you know, it always comes down to what's the policy that you set to do things in emergency situations. For example, I was saying to you, if you have 10 hotels in an area and you have people to put in hotels, set a policy that says, I'm going to have a fixed rate for each hotel that we host people.
Willing to
and
spend.
if we have 10 hotels, each of them gonna get 10 of the 100 people. Just do something that approaches some equitable,
Equitable,
impartial,
transparent.
distribution of the business opportunity that you have, so that everybody is given something. Instead, you leave yourself open now to hear that, well, this hotel got most of them, this hotel rate was the highest, this is, and no.
No, but
it
here's
can be
it.
done.
But in COVID, I know,
Yeah.
because remember, we were in it when the people them. Remember the whole thing with the ships coming and
Yes,
it's not.
but
And the thing
they
with the
send them
ship,
away.
but the thing with the ships was that they knew about it.
Yes.
And it was
So
in the
no
work
spur
for
of
a
the
long
moment.
time.
There was no spur of the moment.
thing. Come on, Mr.
And
Yes.
even if the people are in the bus driving to the hotel, it is enough time for somebody to say, what are your rates? No, we're
Make
paying
three call.
X dollar.
Make three call.
And yes, and what are the other hotels in the area? You get 10 people last time, I'm sending this 20 to, because at the time too, hotels were under pressure for revenue.
Yes.
So you could have been a blessing to the
everybody,
hotels.
because it locked down. So I'm
Yeah.
saying, Mr. Tufton, but I don't know.
I want the truth to come out and for it to just
I
be
keep
as
saying
plain
it.
as day
No,
what
I
they're
keep
up
saying
to.
it. I started, when you came back last week, I was on this line. Let me go back for the
Go back
verse
to
of
it, my
scripture.
dear.
Verse of scripture.
Yes.
If them things say, we are make it up. We not make it up. We're just telling you what the word of
What
God,
the word of God is.
says in terms of judgment. And it's time, if we want to fix the thing, let us go back to the original parts that were there that would not allow for so many questions to be asked. And people are saying, now, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? It coming like him turn one. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened? Turn like dog now. No, me not. It was unfortunate, man. Come on.
Well, we have to take a break. All right, when we come back, we'll be in the wrapping up session anyway. Oh, Earl Brown says they call the transportation in Havana a camel.
Yes, camel. That's what it is.
All right.
A
We'll leave
camel.
on that note. God bless you, Earl.
Welcome back. Well, it's always interesting, but we just want to remind you that we are here at the Ligonier Club on the terrace enjoying the morning. Oh, the sky is so blue. Oh, look at the strips on the savannah.
Yes, the different pieces
It's
that you see.
yeah.
But Percy, I suspect you're looking at the wall.
No, man. No. See the clouds there. Oh, but oh, my Lord.
sky look
I still
white.
love you. The skies are white and see the whiffs of the clouds drifting by as we look and see. But it's true, you know, see.
It is it's a beautiful morning.
Yes.
And there's a bustling breakfast trade going on. There, Lowell has got it picked up. Even the Christmas lights that are still flickering, we could plug them out now.
Yes.
And there's a lively little trade going on in the dining pavilion.
JD's, yes, JD's.
So yes, you gotta remember to give a shout out to JD's Urban Pub. You know, we came here, which night was it again, Lowell? We came here Saturday night, because they are doing a salmon lovers promotion. I should have talked about it.
A salmon lovers
Salmon, yes, you can have salmon burger, salmon pasta with Alfredo sauce, grilled salmon, I've forgotten, salmon every which way. And it starts at like $1,500.
Oh, that's cool.
It's 6 ounces of beautifully cooked salmon.
Tell
So
me
we
what about
came, because yes, Daniel and Lowell are both salmon lovers.
Okay.
So we came on Saturday night and had salmon. All three of us had the same thing.
Okay.
The pasta.
Okay.
Because we're also pasta people, and it was a wonderful, opportunity, occasion. A delicious chicken soup, I think it was. And oh my goodness, if you try those fritters, they did a fritters served
with saltfish?
With tartar, saltfish fritters with
Oh,
a tartar sauce.
We taste that one, man.
You need to taste it. You get like 8 in a serving.
Ooh.
They're paper thin, crispy, and delicious. So Daniel had that as his appetizer. Lowell and I had the soup, and we snatched one. We each snagged one of Daniel's fritters and promptly ordered
for ourselves.
For ourselves, yes. So of course, I ended up taking home half of my salmon, my dinner, because having eaten the fritters and the soup.
Too much fritters, yeah. No.
I couldn't manage it.
Your small stomach could not pull anymore.
Yeah, but
can't stretch anymore.
And I think it continues, the promotion continues for the rest of this week.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could still catch it. So yes, please, JD's Urban Pub for your local cuisine, and from time to time they're doing promotions. I am going to find out what they're doing for Christmas, because I feel sure this is going to be a place to frequent this Christmas. Post-pandemic, things are livening up quite a bit. And of course, Ligonier Club does have rooms. It is the largest sporting facility under one roof in the Caribbean, in the English-speaking Caribbean. Let's put it that way. 6 squash courts. We just had an international squash tournament here, so the courts are all ready for play.
Refurbished again.
Yes, and is it 6 or 8 tennis courts? 8 tennis courts? Yeah, and pickleball is now here. Pickleball looks like a slow form of tennis. Go figure out what pickleball is. You might find that you have a greater tolerance for pickleball than for tennis. Local squash queen, Karen Anderson, is also a certified pickleball coach.
Oh, I saw her today.
Yes, we saw persons out there this morning. And pickleball looks like it is a good activity for persons whose knees are tender. You move quite a bit slower in pickleball. But just to say, don't forget the Ligonier Club and JD's Urban Pub. We are, of course, grateful to them because they host us on Thursday mornings. And Percy and I have a delightful time here at the Ligonier Club. All right, in the few minutes that we have left, Percy, I would love for you to comment on what has been described as the standards crisis that is driving patient care aids underground, while at the same time there is
jobs galore.
An appeal, yes, that Jamaicans are missing out on thousands of practical nursing placements in UK, Canada, and the US. So you see, this is a problem that we have to look at from all angles. First, we need to make sure that we keep a good enough stock of nursing personnel in Jamaica to take care of the needs of our aging population too. While at the same time, we don't want to leave them prey to recruitment agencies and the like who bring them to the US, and sometimes it end up being a type of slavery because they are operating underground.
which is what the standards crisis article is saying, that a lot of Jamaican workers, practical nurses and patient care personnel are operating underground in North America because there's no designated body to regulate standards for their profession. So when they go, they cannot be integrated in the
Into the
official system at the appropriate levels.
Well,
That's what it means,
I know for a
if you're
fact
going to
that-
make
yeah, because-
labor subject to proper migration, you
Yeah.
have to have unified standards across borders. So when you arrive as a whatever standard one nurse in Jamaica and you land in America, that is how you are accepted and paid.
I know for a fact, and we mentioned the Artrust NSTA previously. I know they have certification for allied health. I know allied health, which involves practical nursing, some aspects of it. But they should step in because it provides a growth opportunity for them, and then also for certification for people. Because like I remember when I worked in a community training intervention, we train housekeepers, we train people as cosmetologists, would have trained people.
You're trained to international standards.
Because Artrust and NSTA is recognized globally, not only in the Caribbean, but in Canada, those different places. So,
But Percival, sometimes we import problems to solve them here, and we don't really need to solve them here,
they say import problems.
Meaning, if you want your citizens to be able to integrate in another country, the new country should have a system for testing. So when they come, they do whatever testing they need to do and take the job. I don't know that Jamaica should carry the expense of trading to an international standard in order for your locally trained personnel to migrate with ease.
No,
Certainly as a strategy if you want to keep them here.
I was thinking in terms of...
You need to make it hard for them to leave.
I think part of the thing is you have a lot of schools that are opening up.
Yes.
And because people know that there's the Marne overseas fight, they go to these schools, and when you check, all right, so Percy School, so they're offering a practical nursing course. The next school offering a practical nursing course.
There should be a common local standard.
Right, which is what I was
meet.
talking to in terms of NSAA setting the standards that people can know. Because the truth is, when you look at it as somebody, you look at the curriculum and say, no, this is like cheese to chalk. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Cheese to chalk in the political thing.
Yes, and there's a local issue of making sure that persons who are trained locally meet the appropriate local standard.
Yeah.
Does it need to be an international standard? I say no, unless of course I am preparing people for the overseas market,
yeah.
and I'm really sending them as hired laborers, and the money gonna come back to me. I don't think it would be fair for the Jamaican taxpayer to cover that cost. What it requires these recruitment agencies, if you're bringing people overseas, make your arrangements to put them up in a place for the 4 or 6 weeks that it takes for them to sit the local exams, or if they can sit it remotely, and a lot of things can be done that way these days, and so you get them. It's not a problem that should be visited.
So what you're saying
on our local.
So what we should do is standardize and accredit these places that are training locally.
Locally,
all right. And I'm in agreement with that, because I met a person recently, because there's always a market for mechanics to go to Canada to work. And there is there's a certain certification. So even the guys who have finished here from Jagas and so on, they have to matriculate into that system, but it is easier for them. But what he has done, because he did the exam and understand it, he comes, he prepares them for the exam, train them, and they are released. So they have the basic foundation in terms of it, but they in Canada have certain things. I know that if you're a doctor and go to Canada or thing, you have to go back and do them exams. Like in other countries, you spend years as a doctor and them still insist.
Listen to me, I don't blame them. You can't just go set up your shingle and say you come to work.
But at least they should
even though the human body is the same. Although the human body is the same between Canada and Jamaica and anywhere else in the world, still technology, techniques, standards of care are very different.
I understand that part, but if you ever go back in, because a lot of Jamaicans leave here now, highly trained, highly skilled, and they go back there and they have to be doing things that are
Most
blood.
time a highly skilled Jamaican worker in any field is way above, well, I don't know of a highly skilled, but is way above average
Yes.
in another jurisdiction. So
That's why
the
they come
problem
for them,
is not
the nurses and
right,
things.
it's not the training or the competence. But if you work, let's say imagine you
Like
leave
nurses.
Imagine you leave a hospital in Jamaica where
You have nothing at all.
you might not even recognize some of the equipment.
Yes.
Wonder what is this for?
And they say, you don't know about this?
Ah.
Because we have to make
Yes.
do and do
Yeah.
innovation. And
Precisely. You want to go with your bubble gum and elastic band. And the people
Stop it. I will not have
and the
it.
people
That's
have
so bad. Stop it.
they're built to scale, special purpose things, and you're confused. And not just that, the technology as well,
Has moved.
interacting with computerized technology, being able to read certain results, it's a whole minefield
It's a whole,
out there.
no, and it is true, because remember, Mish is trained as an intensive care nurse, and she pointed out to me, this is a long time ago, because she left there before Daniel was born. That's a long time ago. And she says, the standard is, and Mr. Tufton spoke to it, that you have one nurse to 3 babies, but you have one nurse to 10 babies. And the standard is the same when you're looking after big people. But she recalls, even when she'd work night duty and she'd come home tired. They say, how much people look after a baby? She said, refer to whoever as baby.
Yes.
She said, 8. So I said, what is this time? She said, 1 to 1.
And she do 8.
And she
8
do 8.
persons
Yeah,
job.
so that was the reality.
And you must perform at a
at
level
level-
of competence for
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
Make one mistake and
yeah.
it's a problem. So here's Earl Brown. We're going to wrap up shortly, but I got to take this one on. Earl says, when Jamaican taxpayers pay for training, Jamaica get it back tenfold in remittance. Is that true, or that's a fiction in Earl's brain?
You know that is an age-old...
It's a fiction.
They don't know about
I
the
don't-
fiction.
fiction
You know,
in
it's an
Earl's
age-old
brain.
question that happened. Like, people would say, like, I know it was a question we were saying, like in housekeeping, them always want Jamaican housekeepers. And the person said, well, we're not training them to go overseas, we're training them for the local market. But the reality is that you
They
work
are-
as a housekeeper, you train as a housekeeper, then gone with
They're
you.
gone.
And then
Yes,
what
but-
you get way here,
Yeah, but
I
let
don't
me
know if
say
it's 10
something.
times. You get
Yeah, listen.
remittances, but I don't know if it's 10 times.
Listen to me, remittance is personal. When your sister send you $100, it is of no benefit to me. You know who benefit? Maybe the shopkeepers. But understand that people are gonna buy food anyway. And it has no impact on reducing crime and violence. None whatsoever.
You're not sure about that?
No, in fact, it funds people buying guns and drugs.
We know about that connection in
Yes.
terms of somebody in foreign funding a criminal
Absolutely.
organization.
Most
so it's having
of
an
the-
impact.
There you go.
So it's have good and bad impact.
the tenfold. Okay, so right. He didn't say we get it back positively tenfold.
Or
It could be negatively tenfold.
So him have an argument there
Him
with
have
the
an
argument there
but
because
it might not be in the direction that he
we want
desires.
it to be. But
Yeah.
it's true.
So,
that question
when
that
you
he
look
raises
at remittance, it's
is-
good to look at all aspects of it.
Somebody should
And
be
the
able to do
other
a
thing too,
study,
you know,
when you remit.
well,
What
but
really
it's more fun to do it this way.
you know,
Because, no, when you think about it, Percy, someone who is living off remittance has no drive or desire for gainful employment.
you know that is true. So people become laga,
Dependent
lazy.
and lazy.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's true. And I know a lot of people. You
Yeah.
can go if you go to the
It would be a
if you go to the if you go to the
May I
Western
try and make one
Union,
more
you will
good
see
point?
them. You will
May I-
see them. You
May I
see
try
them
and make
every
one more
time.
good point before we get the type signal? If it were to be a savings to taxpayer, it would mean taxpayers are relieved of certain social costs that are incidental to the care of persons who, are below the breadline. But guess what happened? The government is not taking care of them anyway.
Ah, jeez.
It's not like where you have the dole or social security payments that go for unemployment and
We don't
those
have
things.
that.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
So taxpayers are not carrying that cost anyway.
Yeah, but it
So
is.
the remittance thing, sure, money comes to Jamaica,
But the question, what it goes towards is the
what
question.
it goes to
It can be
is
good
what
and bad.
makes the difference, and it go to both good and bad.
Bad, yeah.
And some
So it-
might say, leave the people them make them figure
Yeah,
out their
that's
way
way.
and get better education and can make money and take care of their children.
yeah.
Less remittance.
And we close
Anyway,
with
yes.
impact of it. But we running, but Mr. Tufton.
Oh,
But
you
I'm
want to close
wanting
with
to
Mr.
Mr.
Tufton?
Please, Mr. Tufton. It started with the Jamaica moves, the babies. People have said you handled the pandemic well. Some arguments still out in terms of what happened. Because remember, at some point in time in our program, we're saying leave it to the technocrats then, because people are using it to get political mind, or they're managing the economy. And when it started to turn, and drop it like hot bread. You remember?
Yes.
People are saying leave it alone, because some of the decisions were being political and not based on the science that was there. And if you remember, Alfred Dawes earlier this week spoke about it, the misinformation and how they went after people who were saying, we're
the
off in a
cancel.
different, the
Yeah,
cancel culture.
Cancel culture.
Yeah.
All right, it's been a rollicking, good, fun time here. Free-flowing Thursdays. We've had fun. Yeah, we didn't get to talk to you, but we'll be back on the job on Monday, God willing. Please have a blessed weekend. Thank you to those who joined us online and on air. And also thanks to those back in studio and right here, the producer. I need to get some hot tea and maybe some Leaf of Life tea.
Some ginger.
Some ginger.
Yes,
He's
some
been
ginger.
sniffling and coughing, so we got work to do in the hospital.
Yeah. And it's at
All
home.
right, thanks to JPS and Percy's
Miss Colleen Palmer, right?
younger sister for joining us and being such a blessing, sharing what they're working on. Not in the lab now, but right now in the field. And those of you who have an interest in being retrained to deal with the electrical vehicles and the new technology coming down the roadway, please keep your eyes and your ears open, because the Heart Trust will be carrying this program going into the future. And it's accessible at more places than I thought. That's really good. St. Elizabeth, Port Maria, Kingston, 2 places. So
It's going to spread, man. As soon as they walk out the kinks, it's going to even move over into the CTI.
Any young mechanic. And those who are trained, just pass the training on so we can be truly inclusive in this. Donovan say, a hot egg, Percy, drop it.
Which one that?
We don't know, Percy drop the hot egg.
Which hot egg? We don't know. Which hot egg?
Anyway, I think it might be a tough time issue. Yeah.
The hot egg.
Yeah. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Our weekend begins here, so naturally, we are in celebratory mode. Take care, and bless you.